All right, long story short, Demon Mama and Keffals were friends. Keffals scammed a whole bunch of people out of 100k, and now Demon Mama wants to put the boot in. This is Demon Mama. You're going to hear in just a sec now.
If your kid is going to Roblox themselves, will you stop them and institutionalize them? And
Yes, I would.
And you said yes for them.
No.
No. And then so what I'm asking then is,
Classic. Anyway, this is Demon Mama. She's a transgender streamer. Talking about Keffals, former friend of hers. How are we looking? There we go. All right, here we go. How Keffals betrayed her entire community by Demon Mama. This is 2 hours long. I'm gonna have to listen to it sped up because I can't get through 2 hours of this, unfortunately. But we'll try and get through the whole thing. Let's see what happens. Come on, let's go. You and me. I apologize if that is horrifically loud.
Today, drama has come to our doorstep. And it has come to our doorstep in the form of a content creator.
There you go, Demon Mama, bouncing up and down. That's possibly going to bother me. If it does you, then what are we going to do? Let's go.
Our community has a long history with, by the name of Keffals. Keffals' presence on the internet has, for a very long time, been one that can only be described as controversial, and often controversial for all the wrong reasons. Unfortunately, today, we have to have a pretty serious talk about Keffals. In advance, I'm going to ask that everybody keep themselves chill in chat, okay? Be cool. There are a lot of new viewers here today because obviously there's a lot of interest in this topic, and there's a lot of strong opinions on this topic from many different angles. I would really like it if people could be chill and not be weird freaks in chat. I'd really appreciate that. And also, I think it should go without saying that if you think the solution to basically anything is online harassment, you have no place in this community. In my community, I have worked very, very, very hard to cultivate an environment in which people do not needlessly seek drama, in which drama farming and weird internet gossip behavior is discouraged. And I think that's because it's largely detrimental to the mental health of the people who participate in it, to the people who are targeted by it, to the ability of video makers and artists on the internet to get anything done, and also to truth itself online. Misinformation and narratives are rampant on the internet, and I really feel like it damages our ability to figure out anything real. And
this is what I mean. It's gonna be a struggle. Like 2 hours of this. This is just what she talks like. This is just how it is. I'm sorry.
Induce a feeling of meaninglessness to everything that's done online, and that's tragic because what we do online is not meaningless. It actually can be very impactful. This community.
It can certainly be very impactful. I'm not gonna take away from that. Jesus.
Only raids with love. This community wants to find the truth to the best of our ability, and we always want to discuss things with compassion to the best of our ability. With all that said, we need to talk about Keffals. I have known Keffals for a very long time. I've known Keffals since before she was known as Keffals, and I had always found her to be a very talented comedian.
I don't know who thinks that. Like, I don't know what has Keffals done that was funny. Like, I remember like the Coke phase when she was going after like tender queers and shit. I think that was the funniest she ever got for me, but maybe this is like subjective, who knows?
I've always found Keffals to be a very funny person, very skilled at making people laugh and making people laugh in unique ways. And that was true when she became Keffals, when she created her a streaming channel around the moniker Keffals, and mostly did a lot of meme content and stuff like that. And pretty early on, she sort of pivoted from doing memes and comedy, chill streams and stuff like that, into doing more political content that was very politically charged and a lot of focus on trans issues. And she kind of got, I guess you could call it like viral attention, whatever the modern equivalent of viral is. It's not really the subject of this section, but viral, as we used to understand, it doesn't really exist in the same way. But regardless, she got a lot of attention by doing basically Twitter ratios, where some heinous asshole would say something stupid on the internet, and she would show up and say ratio, and her.
Is this not like the cringiest shit you've ever heard? Like, Jesus Christ.
Her post would get a whole bunch of attention instead of the post that was originally there. So the goal is that you want to create a ratio where the ratio of a reply, the likes, retweets, comments, etc., is higher than whatever the original one is. It's like a goofy internet flex. And
yeah, we're flexing by ratioing someone on Twitter. This is the kind of people we're dealing with.
That was all fun and fine and whatever. Although, of course, in the process of that, it definitely attracted a lot of mixed attention. There were people who were very jazzed about this, who thought it was really funny, a way of like being basically an internet troll for for generally good causes.
Generally good causes, aka shitting on people that we disagree with. It's just harassing people, but putting an extra step where you justify it. So you can see how she it was odd that she was doing this anti-Kiwi Farm stuff. Oh, hey, Ash Raven. Yeah, it was odd that she was doing this anti-Kiwi Farm stuff. She acted exactly like them. She was like a slightly different circumstance away from being the same fucking person as someone from Kiwi Farms.
Rolling on some asshole conservative screaming about homeless people or whatever. But it also, of course, made some people mad. There's a lot of people who are going to get mad when they get kind of like made fun of or embarrassed on the internet. So there was this consistent ramping up of attention, with the ratios getting, lots of attention, lots of support and whatever, but also people getting mad about it and also disagreeing with some of her opinions and whatever. And this led to a lot of harassment being directed at Keffals when her...
Bear in mind, this whole ratio thing is about harassing people, by the way. Speaking of which, this Demon Mama person, her community went after someone called, what was her name? Riley Grace Rashong. That was the one. She was a law student and they were trying to get her like disbarred and stuff over some disagreement. So this person, every time they talk about harassment, they're probably going to put it from one side and not the other. So it's just something to bear in mind.
Community was very small. She had a lot of Twitter clout, I guess you could call it, for whatever that's worth. Hint, it's worth next to nothing. Twitter clout is not all that important, especially these days. But back then it was a little more important. Point is, she had a lot of Twitter clout. She didn't have a huge stream following at that point. So there was a lot of harassment. And the harassment that was directed against Keffals during this period is fairly well documented. It's pretty easy to see. At least it was. Right now, I don't know if you can actually see her old VODs anymore, but I've been present and witnessed some of the harassment that was directed her way. And of course, myself being a trans creator on the internet who has disagreed with right-wing figures, as basically all of us end up doing eventually because of the way that the culture war is.
It's like pumping her leg the whole time. That's so distracting.
Right now. I've experienced it myself. The reason I'm saying all this is because I want people to understand the wind-up to what we're talking about, and also to understand why I was...
Watch her midriff like vibrate like jelly. I'm not calling her fat. It's like she's pumping a leg or something. It's like, just sit still. It's okay. You're on stream.
Fairly vocal and do not regret defending her fairly frequently in the early days of her career. I was a fairly vocal defender of Keffals early on because what I saw was bullshit. I saw people being unbelievably cruel, behaving psychotically towards a fairly small streamer who had basically done the equivalent of getting a dunk in on Twitter. And the response was people, doing your typical internet 4chan era garbage, posting horrific slurs in your chat. Sending
it's bad one way, but not bad the other.
Pictures of gore, that type of stuff, just in massive amounts. And so, of course, early on, I had known Keffals from before she started streaming, and so I was very happy, and I don't regret that at all. I also, as Keffals started to build a political presence, had plenty of criticisms for her. And if you don't believe me about any of this, you can
such as
just search Keffals' name on my channel, and more recently, you could just search the term drama on my channel, and chances are you're going to see a video that contains at least some critique of Keffals, varying from a lot of critique.
We're gonna have to sit through it. I wish she'd just like list them personally. Like, there's so many people when the Keffals thing broke, so many trans people were like, I don't like Keffals, but, and then everything else they say is just some insipid criticism of like nothing, like the thumbnail on Mutaha's video or some shit like that,
To a little critique. I had a sort of infamous stream in which I talked about the use of the R slur, in which I very heavily criticized Keffals and some other people.
The R-slur. Oh, shit, my life. The R-slur. Oh, man, I'm glad that I will never be part of any of these kind of communities. Like, actually, fuck that shit.
All of this, I feel proud of the way that I handle these things.
Oh, hey, what's up? Goofy Boom 00, how you doing?
And that's the criticisms and the defenses. And I wanted to talk about these because I want to be clear exactly what I'm talking about as we get further into this topic.
I have to get through it. I have to get through this, should I say, but I'll totally check it out sometime.
The reason why, just as a side note, the reason why I bring up drama in particular is because fairly recently, in the sort of history of the Keffals channel, Keffals made some decisions to pivot into drama content. And I am not going to, I promise, I'm not going to make this whole stream about drama content, even though I could rant about it a lot. I have very negative feelings, if you can't already tell by what I've said already, about drama content, but particularly about channels that make drama content the center of their channel. I think that it incentivizes and requires behaviors that are incredibly problematic. And some of those we are going to end up discussing in just a little bit.
She's described like problematic shit that Keffals people were doing. There's plenty of problematic shit like I've described that this person's community were doing. Like I hate this person already. Like I think she's putting the boot in on like drama channels because they're the ones that broke all the Keffals stuff, but they're not even the ones that broke it. They're just the ones that popularized it. A lot of the stuff she's going to go on to mention was known for like well over a year.
One of my issues on a personal level that came up with Keffals and also that came up with Keffals community happened when she decided to make this pivot into doing drama content. It was where I felt like there was a very distinct change in the atmosphere around the community and also in a lot of her behaviors. Yeah, so I figured that was important to bring up. There's also another.
It feels like because she was doing drama content, that's like what she's saying the change was. When anyone who was watching from the start with a bit of sense should have been at the very least suspicious of this like Kiwi Farm shit she was doing. Like she fucking knew. You can't blame someone pivoting to like drama content. You can't blame that on, you know, her turning out to be a bad person. She was the same person.
The thing that I want to talk about, and this is going to be the center of what we talk about today, which is that I also advocated in favor of a GoFundMe that Keffals ran. Now, I want to talk about this GoFundMe, and I want to look at what it was, because this is going to be very, very important to what.
Yeah, so the GoFundMe, she stole 100K from a bunch of viewers, a bunch of people in general that thought this was a good cause. She was gonna get these, like, legal actions against the police, against Kiwi Farms. She got it taken down for, like, a week. And for the most part, it was just used on, like, her personal stuff, including possibly, like, drugs and shit like that, which she has admitted she's been using at the time. So it's not hard to imagine where some of that money went.
We're talking about today. A couple of years ago, Keffals launched a GoFundMe. I actually can get the date here. The date would have been August 9th, 2022. Keffals launched a GoFundMe. It was this GoFundMe right here, the Clara Sorrenti Keffals Legal Fund. Now that name is really important, but we're also going to go over the description here in a second. Now, what happened to Keffals is that a few days before this legal fund went live, Keffals was swatted, and swatted pretty severely. For those who aren't familiar...
This has been, like, disproved. Like, she came out of her bedroom and there was a policeman or two there. Like, the swatting part, I guess, is genuine because someone called the cops erroneously or, you know, maliciously, but, like, it's not how it was presented, and I wonder how she's going to put it.
Familiar with the term swatting. Swatting is when online people find your private information, including your address, and they use that information to convince the police to do a raid on your house on false pretenses, obviously. It is a horrible, horrible situation that has resulted in injuries, death, and damage over the years to tons and tons of innocent people. Swatting is a genuinely terrible blight on internet existence, and it is a complicated issue too because many police departments do not have any protections in place to prevent swatting. In America, police departments are heavily militarized. They're heavily armed. And
we need to go into this much detail. Get on with it. Like, this is 2 hours. Is this whole thing going to be like this? I mean, I guess I know because I'm familiar with this person, but, like, fuck me.
SWAT teams tend to react erring on the side of what they call caution, aka they would rather catch a criminal than necessarily verify whether or not there's actually a threat at all. I don't call that caution, but that's what they like to call it. What this means is that in a lot of places, it can be fairly easy, all things considered, to provoke a violent response on someone who has not done a crime by falsifying information. They're swatting for you. And this happened to Keffals, a thing that I wouldn't wish on any online performer or artist or anything like that. It's a terrible, terrible experience. And from everything that we've been able to see...
It's like she's saying the general experience of swatting happened to Keffals. Like, oh me. Her leg is, like, getting noticeably twitchier. Do you think when she's, like, spinning the truth, maybe that's one of her towels? I guess we'll see.
The experience was horrifying, traumatizing, and terrible.
Yeah, just watch, like, this bottom section here. Like, oh my god, just sit still, please, I beg you.
So when this occurred, a bunch of Keffals' stuff was taken. Keffals was briefly detained and questioned by the police, all on ridiculous false pretenses that were fabricated by people who didn't like her online. And shortly after this event, she decided to set up this Clara Sorrenti Keffals Legal Fund. And this is where things get very messy, and it has been unpleasant to even prepare and go through and think about and learn about everything that's happened here.
All of this happening whilst you were still friends with her, by the way. It's not like people didn't say anything. It's not like you had no opportunity to learn the truth.
Early on, and this is before it reached the goals that it did, which, just for the record, this legal fund reached 101,348 Canadian dollars with a 100,000 goal. So it went over $100,000, which is an incredible amount of money. That's a lot of money. That's way above the average yearly income of someone. Okay, and why is it still open?
I'm so glad that I have someone to tell me that $100,000 is a lot of money. Thank you, Demon Mama.
That's a good point. There's actually people still donating to it right now, which is a little bit weird.
She's one of those Mutahar. She's like, is this poison in the well? I don't know. I can't trust a single thing any of these people say. Like, I can't really see from here, unfortunately. I think that's Mutahar Anas or something. Maybe she's trying to insinuate that that's weird.
Right now, which is a little bit weird. Yeah. Okay. So, early on, when this video, or when this section dropped, what Keffals was asking for was, I think, the original.
Oh, she finally hit it. Jesus Christ. Her midriff is like, it's like fucking jelly or something. It's not because she's fat, it's because she's pumping like her leg. I don't know how fat she is. Fatter than me, for whatever that's worth.
The original amount was somewhere in the ballpark of 10K. Don't quote me on the exact, I don't really care about the exact number, it doesn't really matter. But the original ask was pretty low. And around that time, I was willing to promote this GoFundMe to my community. My community has a long history of generosity, kindness, willingness to go there for people who are in need. And
naivety, maybe?
And so I said, damn, getting swatted is horrible, especially if your stuff got confiscated and you can't make an income anymore. It's more than willing.
Can't make an income anymore. It was like, what, 3 days she got it back after? You can't make an income for 3 days. Like, okay, sure. You go on holiday, that's the same thing, but potentially for longer, but hey.
To support that. And a lot of people agreed with me. Now, obviously, this blasted through the initial goals and continued on to astronomical heights. And the goal was changed multiple times. Now, some people took that as, in and of itself, a suspicious sign, but I don't really agree. And I think something that I want to make clear in talking about—
There were so many signs, though. If you weren't taking that particular suspicious sign, what about the rest of them? I mean, the Destiny Manifesto, we know why, because she was in with Vorsh. And, of course, anyone who's a disciple of Vorsh doesn't listen to Destiny, because Vorsh fucking hates him.
About this is that Keffals was swatted by people who hated her ass. These people were always going to try and say that anything that she did was bad. There were a lot of people who were going to say, were going to make all kinds of accusations over any GoFundMe. But what there always was a lack of hard evidence of anything, basically, other than evidence that had been provided by Keffals that the GoFundMe was going to be used for what it was intended to be used for. Which brings us to, let's read the description, shall we? Let's read what the original GoFundMe was set to be used for. I need your help, says Keffals, because I can't do this alone. I started a GoFundMe after being victimized by the London Police Services for being the victim of a hate crime. I need to move immediately, recoup my losses, and build a legal fund to protect my rights. I have been subject to emotional damages, financial damages, blatant violations of the Human Rights Act, and discrimination against me on the basis of gender identity and expression.
Note how vague all this language is, by the way.
I was also subject to unjust seizures that not only affected my livelihood, but has severely disrupted the work my fiancé is doing in their doctorate program, which has the potential to impact whether or not my fiancé finishes their doctorate.
A fiancé who later apparently was abusing her, and that's the real reason she had to leave, by the way. I wonder if Demon Mama knew her fiancé. I don't know how close any of these people really were, so.
Because there is no policy in my city against swatting, there is no guarantee this will not happen again, and my home is not safe. Update. The original moving goal was met, but the hotel I was staying at while looking for a new place to live was doxed. I am now in hiding. I am keeping the GoFundMe up, but all donations are going directly to my legal fund, which I will be using to seek justice. That's pretty important right there. Yes. So in the original version even, you can see that this was present. In the very original version, this is the goal when it was at 20,000. So if the goal is met, I will have raised enough to recoup my losses and move immediately to a safe location. If the goal is exceeded, funds will be allocated to a legal fund to protect myself against ongoing and future threats to my safety. Now that was then edited to be, donations are going directly to my legal fund, which I will be using to seek justice. Okay? So with all this in mind, this is a very reasonable ask. People here who are donating to this are looking to help someone seek justice. And a lot of people were correctly empathetic with that goal. Now, After this,
Correctly empathetic? What does that mean? She was full of shit. The whole thing was a racket.
GoFundMe went up. There was a whole bunch of incidents that happened. There is not enough time in the world for me to go through all of them. There was numerous public clashes with various figures involved in, or associated with, or perhaps neutral to, but with a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge towards the people who were harassing her.
Like the whole thing is like shaking now. I wonder if that's a tell. She's not going to go into any details about how she called one guy a pedophile, another guy a stealther. Like, fuck me. Like, even just the basics.
She ended up going on, I don't want to, a press tour is not 100% accurate, but she went and did a number of interviews. She did a lot of live streams. She was interviewed by a number of journalists and newspapers all across the United States and Canada.
By the way, you search keffals nowadays, you still see all these like puff pieces about her. None of them have followed up. Like I saw the TYT video where Anna Kasparian like took back what they'd said about her and challenged other news outlets to do the same. I doubt anything is going to change, but hey.
Her legal fund was supported and put onto a very, very, very large platform. And if you go and watch these interviews, Keffals spent a lot of time talking about how her goal with this legal fund was to do justice for trans people, was to help trans people, to help to make the world a better place for trans kids.
And do you see how easy it is to manipulate people into giving you money just by saying it's for trans rights? Does no one see a problem with this? Could seriously no one else have seen this coming?
There was a lot of focus on what this would be doing for the trans community at large, and a lot of people resonated with that message, okay? Obviously, as we all know, in the current climate in America, there is a deranged culture war directed at trans people. It is heavily astroturfed by far-right think tanks and political figures who are extremely well-funded, and there's a lot of anger.
Again, grain of salt with literally all of this shit.
Obviously, it's a very strange time to be living in America as a trans person, or anywhere, honestly, but most of the English-speaking world is being seized by this sort of rooted in America and funded by American right-wing political org culture war directed at trans people. So there's a lot of people who are very invested in this struggle. And
is it directed at trans people, or is it like between trans people and people who hate trans people? I mean, at this point especially.
A lot of time going on reputable sources, making promises. Promises that a lot of people were charitable towards. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because I don't think anybody who donated to any of this did anything wrong. There is a faction of people on the internet.
No, they were wronged. That's the whole point. Jesus.
Who are very invested in not just attacking Keffals, but attacking the trans community at large. And they have a very particular narrative about everything. They want the world to believe that there's some magical wokeness or something that, you know, that's operating and pulling strings, and that there's all this manipulative bullshit. But I don't know, if you go through and you read through the comments on this GoFundMe, which is still public, you can go read the comments now. The vast majority of what you're seeing is people who are genuinely giving from their heart. They're saying, hey, it's horrible this happened. We want to see you be able to get justice. And
yeah, people who all need to like reevaluate the way that they take in this kind of information. People who need to reevaluate what kind of people they trust and how easy it is for them to get manipulated into supporting this fucking cause, right?
I think that it's disgusting that there are people out there who are going after not just Keffals, for what we're going to talk about in just a minute, but who are also just randomly attacking donors and people who gave out of the goodness of their heart.
What about the people that went after her because of how transparent a lot of this was? Like, so many of us knew she was lying for ages. You know what I'm saying? Like, what about the people that went after her for calling Chad Logic a pedophile, or for calling Destiny a fucking, what was it, stealther? Like, we're trying to whitewash it and act like she was such a victim and that just mean people were going after her.
And out of a desire to see a better world. The simple truth.
And this fucking person knew, by the way. She knew. She's only now doing this because it's been completely, without a shadow of a doubt, made clear to everyone when it was already made clear to everyone a year and a half ago. You know, this is fucking sad, honestly.
Is that anytime you give money to any charity or GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever, there's always a risk that something goes wrong. And it's unfortunate when something goes wrong the way that it did in this case, because this discourages people from being trustworthy from trusting in the future. And I think that's really bad. And we're going to get into that in full as we go on. I believe that I've done a fairly good job at this point of explaining what happened all the way up to the GoFundMe and what—
I mean, the trust isn't the only thing as well. You have to bear in mind what sources you listen to and what sources you ignore, because say you're in with a content creator who doesn't like that source, which is true for Demon Mama and Xanderhal and Keffals, all these fucking people.
Why the GoFundMe was a big deal, why a lot of people cared about it, a lot of people had given to it, and it reached very high amounts of money. Now we're going to talk about what happened and why I am talking about this all today, okay? Today I'm going to be going over a thread that was put together by Twitter user Staroxvia, who I know. I want to say that before we even get into this, that I have independently verified all...
How much of it is even new information? That's the worst thing. Like, there were doubts being cast on this fucking GoFundMe over a year ago, well over a year ago. But like, this is like, finally because of this thread, this is why this person is suddenly now speaking out. You were friends with her, you knew this shit, and you were okay with it. Just admit it.
Of the receipts that are present in this thread. So there is so much that we're going to be going over. But I am willing to say and vouch that I have seen all of these. Now, we'll talk about individual takes and whatever as we go through the thread. However, all of the receipts that are present here, I have seen with my own eyes, and I've independently verified them with the sources of those tweets, of those receipts. Sorry, not tweets. They're in the tweets, but yes. And without any further ado, let's get into it, and then we'll talk more about it. Let's do this.
I just want to point out we'd be almost half an hour into this video by now if I hadn't sped it up. Half an hour. Jesus fuck, how do people watch this?
Staroxvia says, it's time to talk about the Keffals GoFundMe situation. Below, I will prove, 1, Keffals misled donors and spent $100,000 dishonestly. 2, her legal case, quote unquote, with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario is dead, and Keffals has been lying about its status to avoid questions related to the money. Is there a way that we can do this ourselves, should we desire? I don't know if you'll be able to directly verify all of these claims yourself. However, you can go read the thread here. I imagine that all of the people...
Or I don't know, watch Mutahar's video. Or I don't know, watch Destiny's Manifesto or read it. There's so much information out there that you all have been ignoring and just grassing over as if it wasn't there. And then suddenly being like, oh shit, how do we know? Oh my god, guys, we didn't know. How could we possibly have known? How possibly could I have known that this person was full of shit, please?
At this point who have done this. Most of the people here are willing to discuss with the public, but let's focus on what's at hand for now. Again, as somebody who does not wade into drama, when I say that I verified these receipts,
She does sometimes though. I bet if I look through her videos, it's like, we'll have a few with like 5 figures like this one. It's all gonna be like drama shit. So yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean that. I'm putting my name on the line. And you should be able to tell by the fact that I'm doing this at all that I take what I say on my stream very seriously. The fact that I'm even...
Mate, you put your name on the line for how many, like a good couple of years associating with this person who a ton of people were raising alarms about from the start. There was so many inconsistencies that you could have seen, you know? Jesus Christ.
Doing a segment that is as miserable and belabored as what I'm doing here about a GoFundMe that I promoted fairly lightly.
You can see why this is such a long video, by the way. It's got nothing to do with how much content there is. She just fucking doesn't stop talking. And 90% of it is useless. We've already heard this. Get on with it.
Should tell you that I care about what I tell to my community. That's why I'm doing this. So
She cares anyway. About what she's telling. I'm so glad you told us that. Fucking get on with it. Jesus. Fuck me.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, so here is the first receipt. This is a screenshot that was captured and shared later from the official Keffals editing and video production internal group chat. Here is Keffals here. It feels really bad watching the GoFundMe deplete. The rest will cover a year rent and my psych fees if I talk to a psychologist once a week for the next 11 months. Ellen tried to comfort me, reminding me it was an emergency fund. And here is a member of Keffals' team by the name of Arif who says, Ellen's right, but I definitely understand that feeling. Whenever I've had a windfall that I wasn't originally planning on having, I still felt bad when it was depleted. I keep trying to think of how it depleted so fast. This is Keffals again. I keep trying to think of how it depleted so fast, and it's just so many little things. Travel, and replacing furniture, and helping my friends out, and buying new streaming gear, and clothes.
It's... Jesus Christ. Let's just keep going. I don't really have anything to say here. Like, this is insane. Like, fuck me. How did these people not realize all this new shit she was getting? Oh, I wonder where that came from. I wonder where you're getting the money from. Come on.
If anyone ever finds out how I spent the GoFundMe, I am definitely getting canceled. Anyway, sorry for venting. I'm gonna go now. I'm still heading to Dingle, lol. Now, that's a pretty terrible thing to see. And I imagine that everyone who has now seen these messages, which were leaked by a concerned party within Keffals' own team, have been pretty bothered by that. And I will admit...
Yeah, I mean, it bothers me, but like, we all knew. We knew. This is just confirmation of shit that we knew ages ago. How did you not know? Surely you must have. Like, how do you give someone that much faith? Is it because you're all fucking trans and so you have to stick together? Because that's bullshit. When someone's rinsed a bunch of money out of people for completely dubious reasons, right?
Admit that it has deeply bothered me as well. Let's continue in the thread.
Oh no, guys! How could she betray us, guys? She seems so honest.
I've been investigating Keffals GoFundMe for a long time, and I can also vouch for this. Staroxvia was one of the first people who had concerns about Keffals GoFundMe, and who also did not take it to some kind of weird, deranged level, in my personal experience. And now that a few pieces of evidence are public knowledge, I can share what I've found. TLDR, the above screenshot is real, and the legal case the GoFundMe was supposed to go towards likely isn't happening. Strap in, this is a doozy. And again, I can verify that I have seen the original versions of these screenshots, so, you know, on my word, as my presence, that is not a fabricated group chat. I've had that verified by people who were there for that conversation. Myself. First, what exactly did she say she would spend the GoFundMe on? According to the GoFundMe description, $20K for recouping losses, moving to a safe location, and the remaining $80K plus for a legal fund. It's important to take this at face value since it's what she's saying directly to people donating. Now we see this, we just looked at this right here, but just for it to be clear, if the goal is met, I will have raised enough to
Like, what happened in like 2 years? We had some kind of civil action that you can do for free that I think has since, like, it was filed too long ago, so it's not active anymore. There was plenty of reasons to be suspicious of keffals long before this. Like, I can't accept that this person didn't know to an extent or wasn't like avoiding the truth. Like, there was so much out there. Like, fuck me.
Recoup my losses and move immediately to a safe location. If the goal is exceeded, funds will be allocated to a legal fund to protect myself against ongoing and future threats to my safety. And here's the update. The original moving goal was met, but the hotel I was staying at while looking for a new place to live was doxxed. I am now in hiding. I'm keeping the GoFundMe up, but all donations are going directly to my legal fund, which I will be using to seek justice. On Twitter, Keffals has been less clear about how money was allocated, but here is one figure that I want to call attention to. This was shortly after the GoFundMe launched, and she gives a lower estimate of $60K for a trial, and that most of the GoFundMe is going towards legal fees. Woke up, this is Keffals. Keffals says, I woke up and I'm seeing tender careers mad at me for saying mean words at people mocking me for raising money for legal fees and to move after. I could have died because I got doxxed and fascists weaponized the police to attempt to murder me. I was a victim of a hate crime. Grow up. Keffals says, a 3-day civil trial in Canada is $60,000. The vast majority of the money I raised is going to pay lawyers, and the rest is to move and pay me and my staff because I can't work until I'm safe. Making a trauma victim explain this a week after it happened is fucked up. In order to ask for help, I had to go public and confirm my home address to the people who want me dead. The crowd that thinks me quote tweeting them is violence, but laughs at me for facing actual police violence is not getting any sympathy. I do not care how my fans treat them. There's a lot going on.
She doesn't care how her fans treat them, so it's like, fuck. So she's absolutely happy to act in exactly the same way. And the harassment shit, it only ever gets like, it's only ever one way somehow. Like, trans people can do whatever the fuck they want. None of these people are ever going to call it out. You can do what you want, you know, it's insane.
On in this. But the core of what we're going to focus on is this $60,000 claim, okay? So let's continue. She also reiterates that the non-legal portion of the fund is going towards moving and recouping her losses. But in my investigations, I found that she had no concrete losses to recoup. Keffals was swatted on August 5th. She later said that all of her devices were returned to her 3 days later. Let's listen to this clip.
I eventually got my stuff back in like 3 days and got an apology from the chief of police.
That's nice.
So yeah, that was really nice. Not nice how they responded to the situation, but I'll take it. I eventually got my stuff.
So there you have it. Now, this is only one clip. There have now been multiple clips posted of her corroborating her own story about receiving her equipment back 3 days afterwards. So while it is very certainly, I think most of us can sympathize with the idea that it was very difficult and that there were probably some losses to recoup, replacing equipment was likely not part of those costs because she got her equipment back. Let's continue.
Wouldn't you have noticed if you're friends with her all the new shit anyway? Like, the level of like naivety that I have to assign to these people to believe that they didn't fucking know or didn't have any suspicions. It's insane, man. How are we acting like she fucking betrayed everyone? Like, now, when everyone else has turned on her, you're like the last one to do so, practically.
This is corroborated by a property bag shown in a CBC story about Keffals' swatting, the label of which clearly shows that Keffals' desktop tower was returned to her on August 8th, which was before Keffals actually launched her GoFundMe on August 9th. And you can actually see this up close. We can see down here that this was, the property bag was returned 8th of August 2022. So, yeah, you have that. She received, according to this, she received her personal equipment back before even starting the GoFundMe. Additionally, a former editor of Keffals shared with me a copy of Keffals' financials from May 2022 to July 2023. In it, we can clearly see that in August of 2022, Keffals earned over $13,000, which is actually higher than the surrounding months. So this is the finance sheet that was shared by an editor from the inside who was, again, extremely concerned about the way that this entire situation unfolded. So you can see all of it here. And as you can see, the month of the incident was a significant increase in site donations and general donations for her channel. So in this month, there was not only support coming through her standard avenues for revenue, but also through this GoFundMe. So people were donating, her own fans were shelling out in order to support her, and her GoFundMe then appeared in order to bring in another $100,000, which is, again, quite a lot of money. So let's continue. To reiterate, Keffals did not have any losses to recuperate. She wouldn't see a decline in revenue until 2023 after she went to rehab, which you can see again reflected here. Her losses only start to begin when she goes to rehab, down here. So you can see the amounts, they fluctuate, but they fluctuate within the before and after, and there's about 4 months of increased income and a few months of slightly decreased income, but there's no real decrease until March of 2023, when she goes to rehab, which was a public thing. So let's continue. Keffals also very likely did not use the 20K to relocate.
Yeah, she got into drugs and she went into rehab. Was there no, like, fuck, what am I trying to say here? Did nothing click in their head to think, maybe some of this money is not being used for the right things and it's just being used for personal shit off other trans people's backs, the kind of people that are actually giving her money? Like, come on.
To Ireland, and instead paid at least a significant portion out of it, out of pocket. By 9/4/2022, Keffals was established enough in Ireland for publications to write about it, and this is a link to articles that were writing about her moving to Ireland. The next day, she would have an infamous conversation with Winter, where when asked if she had used any GoFundMe funds for a PI, strongly implied that she hadn't spent any of the GoFundMe funds yet. And here's the screenshot. This screenshot has been, of course, verified multiple times by Keffals herself. Winter, I don't know how much money you think I make, but I was going to make 6 figures this year before the GoFundMe happened. That wasn't the question. Quit flexing on minorities, Whitey. Okay, this guy just genuinely seems like a weird piece of shit. I don't know who this is, but I don't mean to. I'm sorry. You brought up money for some reason. Did you pay for the PI out of the GoFundMe money? No, the GoFundMe money is currently in savings until I need to use it. I don't know who this Winter is, but whatever. I don't know how that translates.
Yeah, more like shitty towards this Winter person than the person who stole a bunch of money. Okay, great.
It's flexing on the minorities. I will say it's kind of weird to boast about making 6 figures, but anyway. In this exchange, you can also see how she could afford this. She was on track to make 6 figures in 2022, which is corroborated by her financials from earlier. This also adds context that up to this point, she never mentioned she's fucking rich, or at least it was at the time. Now, this is one area where I'm going to just mildly disagree with Staroxvia here, which is to say that, I mean, 6 figures is a lot of money. 6 figures Canadian is a lot of money. I wouldn't really categorize that as fucking rich, but it's certainly more than any of us present.
Oh my god, who cares? Who cares if she's fucking rich or just rich? Who gives a shit?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, there's probably some of you in chat who do make more than that, but at least I don't make more than that.
Who the fucking Demon Mama's chat? Who the fucking Demon Mama's chat is making 6 figures? Just saying, like, who of these people that listen to this person on a regular basis makes 6 figures?
So that's a very significant amount of money for a streamer to make. That is, in fact, very good for a streamer to make. And yeah, I mean, depending on how far the amount goes, but if you're like making $101,000 in a year in Canadian, that's a good income, but it's not fucking rich in my personal opinion. Again, this is a nitpick, but I told you I was going to do that. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Let's continue. This adds gravity to the situation, given that trans people are forced to beg for scraps online. So an already wealthy woman using a GoFundMe for an important cause, instead of using it to double her income, isn't just evil, it's an insult to every trans person struggling to survive. And I couldn't agree with Staroxvia more on this particular point. In fact, I think that's one of the saddest things about all of this. So I'm going to take a moment out of reading this thread to talk about.
Like, Jesus Christ. Was there not a point before this where people started to feel like maybe their money had been squandered? Maybe it hadn't gone to anything after all except up fucking Keffals' nose or something? Like, how much naivety are we allowing here? Why did no one, like, take Destiny's shit seriously? Or fucking Willie Mack covered her long before Mutahar got involved. Like, people like Chud Logic even. Like, so many people. It took this huge video from Mutahar to finally start making people turn against her. It's insane. There was so much fucking chance. There was so much chance for these people to know. But it's like, nah, she's betrayed all these trans people, guys. Like, how about don't be stupid enough to let this person manipulate you and let other people similar manipulate you in future using trans rights? How about that?
I know a lot of trans people. And I know a lot of trans people who have had to use GoFundMes. Trans people, as a demographic.
Yeah, the trans GoFundMe industrial complex is real. That's all I'm gonna say.
Are one of the most financially insecure groups of people, especially right now. Trans people face an incredible amount of employment discrimination, and many young trans people especially face staggering levels of family disownment. which is one of the greatest predictors for financial success in your life. If you are somebody who has a supportive family, your likelihood of financial success goes way up on a pure statistical level. And a lot of trans people, have to turn to other measures. They have to turn to a community, to found families, or to broader communities who are willing to do it. I have seen a lot of trans people raise money in the days, in my days, okay? And I can tell you that I have seen almost none ever say that they are going to fight for trans people with their GoFundMe. In fact, what I see is I see trans people ask for pittances. I see a family of 4.
It's not usually pittances, it's usually several thousand. It's just for like personal shit. Instead of, I don't know, getting a job, paying it off that way, doing some kind of fundraiser, starting streaming, anything. Like, it's always the GoFundMe. Like, we have no imagination, I guess. I don't know. I see why it's necessary sometimes, but just everyone just slaps up a GoFundMe whenever they need anything. And most of the ones that I see, out of the goal, like, they're lucky to get about 150 of like the 1,000, 2,000, whatever goal.
For trans people, a little polycule for trans people who are housing insecure ask for $1,000 so they can make a bill. Basically,
In polycule. A polycule of how many people you can't get your heads together and figure out some way of like sorting your problems out? Like, come on.
going online and having to be incredibly vulnerable to the world at large, put themselves into a vulnerable position, say, I need help, please.
I don't think it's vulnerability. At least some of the time it's just manipulation, narcissism, all that shit.
Help me. And these people struggle to get money. Oh, there are so many GoFundMes out there that never get a single drop of attention. There are so many trans people who put themselves out there and they're not saying I'm gonna do a legal fund. They're not saying I'm gonna do this for trans kids like Keffals did. They're not saying that, I'm doing this for the trans community. They're saying, I need help. I am extremely poor. Someone please help me. This is incredibly embarrassing, but I need some money. And then they ask for $3,000 and maybe get half of that.
Is $3,000 a pittance? I don't know, man. £3,000 to me is not a pittance. That's a lot of money.
And when I think about that, it fills me with rage and sadness. When I think about the fact that there were people who donated to Keffals' GoFundMe because they trusted her, because they believed that she was going to do what she said that she did, pursue justice to make the world a better place for trans people. That is what she went around on the news telling people she was going to do. She did not.
We had no idea, guys. We had no idea she was pulling a fast one on us the whole time. We had no idea. Oh my God, guys.
To do that, okay? And I want to reiterate that. She did not have to say that. None of these things did she have to say. In fact, it's very clear by the support she received from her own community that if she had just made a GoFundMe that said, I need an emergency fund, help me get enough money to get into safety, people would have given. They did. They had already given thousands and thousands of dollars. But she...
Well, yeah, because they're dumb enough to think that this person needs their help. That's how it is. People need to self-reflect on this. People need to think about what's making them get manipulated into giving people money that are doing it for dubious reasons. Like, has there been any self-reflection? Are people thinking maybe people do use trans rights as a way of fucking people around? Like, is that so far-fetched? And again, how long have you had? You knew about this shit. I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe that she didn't know about this shit.
She made a promise to her donors. She made a promise to the news. She made a promise to various communities, including my community. She made promises to me. She made promises to her team that she was...
Oh, she made promises to me and she didn't keep them. You knew what kind of person she was because you were friends with her for how long?
Going to do something more. And not only did she not deliver on that, but she didn't deliver and didn't even have the courtesy to give transparency on that. She didn't even have the courtesy to tell people that it fell under, that things didn't work out, that the lawyer said there wasn't a case. All of those were things that she could have done. She could have changed what she asked for. She could have changed how she followed up, but she didn't do any of that. She didn't. People believed her because they saw all kinds of people vouching for her, and because she made concrete claims. And as time went on, those claims did not...
Yeah, all kinds of people, all kinds of trans people that are just as radicalized into dipshit political ideologies as she is, who are just as up for taking down a legal website that wasn't even the source of like half of her problems. Like, people were stupid. You need to like look at things for yourself and not be like, well, other people are vouching for her. People like fucking Vorsh vouch for her. Tipster vouch for her. Where are they now? They're all fucking laughingstocks. Like, think about the company you keep.
Not come to fruition, as we are going to see. So, now that I've said that, let's continue. Before I get away from myself, here's the link to the original exchange with Winter, which shows that it occurred on September 5th. This is, if you want to go verify the exchange with Winter, you can actually go watch it here at this link on Odyssey. We're not going to do that because it's a whole stream. I've checked it. Anyways, while it seems that Keffals didn't need the GoFundMe to get to Ireland, she wouldn't settle down until October. This brings us to the screenshot, which was taken by a former editor for Keffals on November 30th, 2022. So this is a couple of months.
Yeah, this was around when like the Destiny Manifesto came, but excuse me, this is about the same time as when the Destiny Manifesto came out.
After the GoFundMe reached $100,000, where Keffals says all of the GoFundMe money had either been spent or earmarked.
Like, here's the thing, why didn't she watch that? Is it because, I don't know, you're in Vorsh's circle and he was super against Destiny, so all of them had to be? I mean, I don't even remember what started, like, the Keffals thing against Destiny. I know they had a little bit of beef, like, he had a beef with that Bob posting person who was in with the weird Catboy Ranch stuff, whatever it was, the hormones for kids, like, pink pilling, like, minors shit, which is gross in my opinion.
And this is this one we said before. I'm going to go through it one more time. This is from November, okay, the end of November 2022. Keffals here says, it feels really bad watching the GoFundMe deplete. The rest will cover a year of rent and my psych fees if I talk to a psychologist.
Hold up, are we looping? She's done this, has she not? I thought we'd done this, hang on.
Once a week for the next 11 months. Ellen tried to comfort me, reminding me it was an emergency fund. Now, real quick, I'm just going to hop back here. Legal fund. Emergency fund. Legal fund.
Okay,
A distinct difference. Arif says, Ellen's right, but I definitely understand that feeling. Whenever I've had a windfall that I wasn't originally planning on having, I still felt bad when it was depleted. And Keffals says, I keep trying to think of how it depleted so fast, and it's just so many little things. Travel, replacing furniture, helping my friend out, buying new streaming gear, and clothes. Now, none of those things sound like a legal fund to me. In fact, none of those things sound...
Oh, no shit. No shit. When was your first clue? How long has it been since no action has been taken? This has been around for a long time. You knew. Just admit it.
even remotely like a legal fund. In fact, most of those things don't even sound like an emergency fund. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess, and I'm going to say that there were a lot of donors to the GoFundMe that would have been okay with her spending it like an emergency fund because they cared about her safety and they thought that she was doing a good thing. But I'm going to guess that even among the people who would have been okay if it was used as an emergency fund would have felt at least a little bit misled, okay? If it turned out that by emergency fund, it turned out to be giving money to my friends, buying new streaming gear, buying new clothes, paying travel costs, not moving costs, travel costs. So going and doing things out in the world, traveling. To me, what that sounds like is that money was raised for a legal fund with a small portion that was designated for an emergency move fund. And there's all kinds of things, I believe, that would be covered by an emergency move fund reasonably. You could charge food to an emergency fund. You could even say that certain pieces of furniture might be required for certain types of a move fund. But just real quick, anybody out there, if you got $20,000, just cash, nothing else including your normal income, if you had $20,000 to furnish a new apartment, don't you think you could...
Why is she so, like, indignant now? Didn't you see, like, all the new stuff? Didn't any part of you think, where's the money come from for that? Oh, it must just be from her content, right? Sure.
Do it for significantly less than $20,000. You know, $20,000 is like what a lot of major corporations pay high-level employees as moving bonuses, okay? For $20,000, I could build 20 of these sets that look like this, okay? For $20,000, I could make 20, well, maybe more like 18, of my current streaming setup, which sounds amazing and looks amazing, obviously, not to blow my own horn. But that's a lot of money, okay? So when she says here, travel and replacing furniture and helping my friends, and the GoFundMe is depleting, this is a lot of money being spent. And it most certainly is not being spent on a legal fund. Keffals,
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. Let's just fucking keep going.
in just 4 months, potentially just 2 months, if it really hadn't been touched by September, blew through
The point is, she knew. She had every opportunity to know ages ago. No one wanted to scrutinize it. The media didn't want to scrutinize it whatsoever and just put all these puff pieces out, which are still there and are still what you find when you look up keffals. It's all like there. No follow-up, no, I wonder how that whole thing went. What? Badly? Oh shit. Like, you wonder why. Like, I can sit here and conspiracy theorize and say that because she's trans, they don't want to shit on her. I don't know if that's true, but you gotta wonder sometimes, right?
$100,000 on traveling, not moving, furniture, friends, new stream gear that she didn't need since she definitely got her devices back after 3 days, and clothes. The rest was for a year of rent and therapy, neither of which was outlined by the GoFundMe. I can even tell you how much she spent on rent. She would later tweet on her private account.
Also, I bet the reason she's like using this particular thread, she doesn't want to get into like the bathtub hormones and shit because she's like for stuff like that. She's like an anarchist or whatever. I don't understand her politics whatsoever because whenever I've heard her try and describe it, it's like, I fucking don't know. People ask her questions and it's like, there are lots of ways we could do this. Well, it's like, name one then. Fuck me. Like if I have time, maybe I'll show some of her like past debate performances, because this person, I don't know what she's like now. I think she's a bit more normal than she used to be. She used to be absolutely unhinged. Like this person is crazy, or was crazy at one point. And I mean, she's not being like crazy here, but she's being naive as fuck here. Like, come on, how did you not know? How did you not question even a little bit what she was up to? Come on.
That her rent during this time was $2,400 a month, which is 28.8K that she had allocated. And here's a screenshot that was taken by multiple people from her private. I love living in Ireland so much. Can barely understand what people are saying, but it's so pretty, and my rent has gone from $2,400 a month to $400, so I am building some savings. I'm saving up to buy a house, which is not a sentence I've ever previously stated, because that was not possible. And that is terrible. That's, in the context of everything else that we know, something that would otherwise be fairly innocuous. People could be supportive. It's amazing to hear that somebody is able to finally, for the first time in their life, save for a house, when they aren't also misleading people who donated $100,000 collectively to them.
Which you knew about, or you should have known about. Either way, what's worse? What's worse in those two things?
That is just incredible. For clarity, yes, she says her rent in Ireland is $400 a month, but she would not move to Ireland until June of 2023 when her visa was approved. Before that, she was living in Canada, which is when she was allocated a year of rent at $24K per month. Got it? Got it. So here is evidence that that's the case, that she was paying the $24K even still. Remember, she said and reiterated that most of the GoFundMe would go towards a legal case. That is a civil case which still has not happened, would cost a minimum of $60K for 3 days. And yet by the end of 2022, the money she said was for the legal fund was gone or allocated elsewhere. This means that none of the $100K went to any of what she said that it did. Which brings us to my second point. Her legal case with the HRTO, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, that isn't going anywhere. Buckle up, fuckers, because we're only halfway done. As I followed the progression of Keffals' legal case, her public and private plans constantly shifted and often didn't align. As a result, nailing down a robust timeline of what she was saying publicly and privately regarding her legal case has proved convoluted and unhelpful. So I will give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that her most recent plans, a complaint filed with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario on April 10th, 2023, remember this date because it's important, are consistent with her initial GoFundMe for a legal case. Now this is a video in which she claims to have filed a complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. This video, here's the link to it, it's in the thread if you want to go watch the full video. I believe I think we can see from this screenshot right here, this supposed filing date was April 10th of 2023. This is screenshotted from the video, so there we have it. Okay? Her video wasn't uploaded until May, but various press outlets announced it around April 21st using a press kit that Keffals put together. Almost all of them including a clause like this, saying there was no information as to when the claim would be heard. So here we have an example of press outlets announcing this. No information is available concerning when the claim will be heard. A London police spokesperson declined to comment on the complaint. Now, just for a quick explanation here, what this means is that at this juncture, as of April 10, we have no verification other than Keffals' own words that the complaint was ever actually filed. Which means we have no evidence that there was ever a civil case against the police like was claimed in the original fundraiser, and we now have no evidence that there was anything, we have currently no evidence, besides her own word, that there was any human rights tribunal case even filed. Now keep in mind, filing...
I think the worst thing for this, there's no like new information here. Like I think she comes out with something like towards the end. I don't know if I'm gonna get that far, honestly. This is fucking dire. Like how are you now? Like it's so cynical, man. Like everyone else has turned on her, so I guess I might as well too. Like, what a clout shark till the end, like, truly.
With the Human Rights Tribunal does not have a cost associated, a direct cost associated. You might need help from a lawyer, but there's no direct cost associated with filing that. So the GoFundMe could not have gone towards that, even if it did exist, and we don't have any evidence of that. Let's continue. Thankfully, the process for filing a claim is publicly available. Once the HRTO, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, receives an application, the applicant receives a letter, either informing them that the application needs work or that it is good and has been sent to the other party, i.e. the London Police. This is a link to the website where you can see for yourself the public-facing process. Importantly, let's read through this. After you file a human rights...
This is boring. I'm just seeing, so we've got 1K, 2.8K, 8.4. So this is a fucking drama. This is a drama video. Okay, that's why there's more. 829. 1.1, 1.2. So gaming content. Elon Musk, because of course, if you're on the left, you shit on Elon Musk, you shit on AI. 718. Like, Jesus Christ, she's fallen off a fair bit, you know? Cooking mod. I don't know what that's all about. I'm just gonna see popular quickly. Yeah, the biggest one is like with Destiny, so like the person who's practically responsible for her existing by virtue of being responsible for Vorsh existing. And like all of these are drama videos, by the way. Look at all this. Look at all this. It's all fucking drama shit. Like Riley Grace Rochon shitting on Destiny again. DJ Mule. Shoe on Head fans won't watch this. Like the Shoe on Head shit was insane. Like completely deranged. Yeah, I mean she's fallen off. Like this is the only recent video, particularly. She's like fallen off hard. I mean the Vorsh cabal has fallen apart. So and what a shame. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch of people. Vorsh in particular. So let's keep going.
Tribunal of Ontario complaint. Once your application has been received by the HRTO, you will receive a letter that includes your HRTO file number. The HRTO will review your application to determine next steps. If the application is incomplete or more information is required, the HRTO will let you know. You can contact the HRLSC for legal advice and guidance responding to notices received after you file an application. If the application is complete, it will be sent to the respondents named in the application and any others who may be affected by the application. A labor union in the case of an application filed, e.g. a labor union in the case of an application filed on the grounds of employment. Next, the respondents must submit a Form 2 response to the HRTO. The HRTO will share the Form 2 with all parties. As an applicant, you have the option to file a Form 3 reply after receiving the Form 2. After the HRTO has received these documents or expiration of deadlines for filing these documents, an adjudicator will complete a jurisdictional review followed by an outline of the next steps for the parties. So this outlines the exact process of which there would have been documentation that could be publicly verified, of which we've seen none. Let's continue.
You'd seen none in like, what, 2 years? Why didn't you question it at any point along that timeline? Why not?
After some back and forth, the parties convene before the HRTO to mediate and try to reach a settlement. Failure to do that will lead to a hearing. You might think that this process has an open-ended time frame, so it would be expected that we haven't heard anything, but that's wrong. This is very important. How it works. Mediation. You'll be asked on the application or response form if you are willing to try mediation. The goal of mediation is to help parties reach an agreement or settlement that resolve the issues in the application. The HRTO mediates disputes using an active listening approach. This means that both sides will have an opportunity to tell an HRTO mediator what happened and what they would like to see done about it. The mediator does not decide the application. He or she will consider what you say and look at the documents provided to help you find a resolution satisfactory to both sides. You'll need to sign a confidentiality agreement before mediation. If you settle the case in mediation, you and the other party will have to complete a form. The HRTO will issue a letter to acknowledge the settlement and close the file. If you can't reach a settlement, the file will proceed and may be placed in a queue to be scheduled for a hearing. Mediation at the HRTO is a voluntary process. You are encouraged to mediate, but if one or both of the parties is not interested in trying mediation, the application will go directly to a hearing. So this is setting out a timeline. And I know that some of this is a little bit chunky, but bear with me, okay? It's important that we understand this. Unfortunately for keffals, the HRTO sets a deadline of 1 year after the initial filing for a hearing, should one occur. Keffals' application was filed on April 10th, 2023. The deadline for a hearing was a month ago. As of the publishing of this thread, further now. There has been no evidence of a hearing provided. And of course, right here, you can see this. The goal of the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario is to hold a hearing within 1 year of the application being filed. Many applications are resolved earlier through negotiations between the parties or through the tribunal's mediation process. We haven't heard anything about mediation. We haven't gotten confirmation that her application was accepted. We haven't even heard about the letter she was supposed to receive right away. And all of these things are long past due. I will now catalog everything that we have heard. The next that we would hear about the HRTO case was in October 2023 when the London police concluded an investigation into the sexual assault allegation keffals made in her...
Fuck me, if we do more drama, demon mama stuff, should I say, it's gonna be like memes and shit, funny shit, because this is fucking dire, man. We're halfway through. Like, I'm doing it okay time-wise. I'll need to stop around like 7-ish, a little bit after, but Jesus Christ, like... Whatever.
Application. And notably, the London police were made aware of the allegation through the media, not through HRTO. We're gonna read this real quick. Sorrenti, that's keffals, 29, launched an Ontario human rights complaint against the London police in the spring, seeking $125,000 in damages for injury to her dignity, loss of income, and special damages. In the claim, Sorrenti alleged a female officer pressed her hand against her breast during her arrest and said, "Yep, it's a she," quote unquote. London police learned about the sexual assault allegation from a media report.
I don't even remember that one. I think that was a new thing she came up with fairly recently. I could be wrong on that.
On April 23 and notified Ontario's police watchdog, the Special Investigations Unit. According to the report, Deputy Chief Paul Bastian will present Thursday. SIU Director Joseph Martino notified London Police on August 22nd that there were no reasonable grounds to proceed with the criminal charge and the case was closed. The London Police Professional Standards Branch launched an internal probe into the conduct of the officer along with related policies and services, the report says. Now, we're getting kind of deep into the weeds here, but there's a lot of this that we will never know the truth about. And we'll never know which way these things went. But what we can say from this, despite the details being fairly unpleasant to go through, is that we still, at this point along, have no evidence that anything other than the internal investigation, which was done by the police station at...
Yeah, we had no evidence for ages because she never did anything for like 2 years. How long did you have to start working any of this shit out? And why are we pretending like this is some huge betrayal? Like, how many of us saw this coming? From like the word go, that this was gonna come crashing down on her. That keffals was gonna be fucking finished by this same shit that made her. It was obvious.
The request of keffals has been done. So we don't know. We have no evidence of any complaint being filed. We have no evidence of a legal case. None of this has been provided at this point. The investigation itself is irrelevant. Okay, well, Staroxia said it, so yeah. Personally, I'm always skeptical of internal police investigations anyways. Likewise, I'm also very skeptical of we investigated ourselves and found ourselves innocent. What's relevant is when reporting...
Yeah, the ACAB shit. You gotta do that if you're trans or like Palestine, whatever this person is. I don't know anything about this person. I'm not gonna shit on them, but yeah, it is what it is. You gotta just put up with that in trans communities or decide that you can't be asked with it. It's one or the other. Because if you say anything, you'll get the absolute shit like fucking bullied at you. So...
On the investigation's end, the London Free Press reached out to keffals' lawyer for comment and got this. Lawyer Justin Anisman, who's representing Serenity in the human rights case, declined to comment on the internal London police and SIU investigations. We are unable to comment other than to say that we will continue to be seeking justice before the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal, Anisman said in a statement. When given a perfect opportunity to update the public on the proceedings of the case, her lawyer gave us no indication that the case had progressed at all, not even so much as a confirmation that the application was accepted, despite the fact that it definitely should have been by now. In fact, here, we're continue seeking justice, but it doesn't even imply here that it was even filed at this point. And this is after it was already claimed by keffals that it had been filed, but we saw no evidence of that. The next time she talked about it would be on February 5th of 2024, where she said this. While this may seem like the case has progressed, take note of two things. We're going to look at this real quick. Papers have been processed, and we are awaiting dates to appear in the tribunal. I'm told this could take a minimum of 2 years at best and 6 years at worst, depending on if this gets escalated to a higher judicial body. She claims the process could take a minimum of 2 years. However, we know that this isn't true. That's true. We have seen the website, and unless they're lying on their official website about the minimum time that a case is supposed to be seen in, we have hard evidence that that's not the case. 2, she's being very vague. I agree, this is very vague. She hasn't said the HRTO accepted her application. For example, she merely says that papers have been processed. Even more suspiciously, she deleted this tweet within 7 minutes of posting it. Excuse my chicken scratch math with screenshots to prove this. So here's the evidence. 52 minutes.
Deleting tweets. Like, one thing I'll say for keffals, I reckon she probably does have like legitimately some kind of anxiety issue. Because I don't know, I've been like that myself in the past. I know what it's like. And I do kind of recognize that pattern in other people. That's probably one of the few understanding things I'm going to say about keffals, though.
45 minutes, 7-minute difference. From the reply from 7 minutes later shows that the tweet was already deleted. So she deleted this almost immediately. You can see that outlined here. Which, honestly, you went very, very far in your details on this, Staroxia. My best guess, someone told her... Excuse me? Why does Twitter do this now? My best guess, someone told her that it was a bad idea to publicly lie about this, which brings us to the 3rd time she talked about it. Oh wait, that's the last time she ever said anything of it. At least the last time I've managed to catch. Remember, the deadline for a hearing was a month ago. Also, remember that by now she has already long since spent the money, by her own admission, allocated for a legal case, and her financials and frequent absences from streaming since going to rehab make it extremely unlikely she could afford to pay a case out of pocket anymore. Altogether, the evidence very strongly indicates that her case with the HRTO died a long time ago, and yet she has continued stringing everyone along, probably in hopes of staving off getting canceled, as she was clearly aware she was at risk of. This is unacceptable. To reiterate, keffals lied about spending $20K on moving and
Oh no, we were so betrayed. How could we have known?
recouping costs. keffals lied about putting the remaining $80K into a legal fund, and keffals is lying about the status of the case to this very day to keep people from asking questions about what she did with the money. So what can we do? Since keffals is clearly uninterested in transparency, we must take action ourselves. This is where Staroxia advocates going to the GoFundMe and reporting the GoFundMe. Next, if you unfortunately are one of the people who were defrauded by keffals, you should submit a donor claim here. Again, this is the words of Staroxia. Lastly, you can retweet this thread to raise awareness and hopefully demand financial transparency of keffals. To conclude, I would like to address keffals herself. This is from Staroxia. Clara, people trusted you. For years, you said you were fighting for young trans people, for the freedom of your people, and all of it while you were lying to their faces for money that benefited only you. Do the right thing. Now, that concludes Staroxia's thread on this particular issue. I believe that Staroxia did a very, very, very good job outlining exactly what she is claiming against keffals. And I have to say that I think that the evidence that keffals grossly mismanaged, was dishonest to donors, and outright lied in the process of attaining over $100,000 of other people's money who were giving out of the goodness of their hearts, I think that has been fully proven. Genuinely infuriating and also incredibly sad. I know a lot of people who gave money to that fundraiser who were willing to trust and were willing to take a risk. And it's extremely unfortunate to know that the attitude that was taken towards it is one of continual can kicking, one of, at times, almost outright disdain. Now, there are a lot of people who talked about this GoFundMe in what I consider to be very bad faith. There are a lot of people who were critical of it, which I completely understand, but there were a lot of people who went very far with that, with very, very little evidence.
Like who?
But that is not the case here, okay? Here, the claims...
So, like, because people were bad faith, is that why you didn't know for that long? Like, come on, seriously?
The GoFundMe have been very tightly focused, and additionally, have been very well outlined. And I don't really see what type of answer could provide another outcome, or another conclusion, I should say, than the fact that keffals took this money, used it completely irresponsibly, felt no obligation whatsoever to update her donors, felt no obligation whatsoever to return the money, and also felt no obligation to even tell the truth. I find that genuinely disgusting. Now, I mentioned already that it really bothers me that there are so many trans people out there who are struggling, who...
But the people raising it were doing so in bad faith, apparently. Like, maybe you should think about your own judgment if that's what you think, and if that's the case, because it led you to be defending someone like this for ages, being friends with this person. Did you really not see? Are they that good at manipulating people? I mean, Keffals does not strike me as a particularly intelligent person, but she still got one over on you and so many others of the trans community. Like, I hope there's some kind of self-reflection somewhere in here. Like, maybe there will be. Usually when these people do it, it's in the most, like, fuck, what am I trying to say here? Like, they like blowing smoke up their own asses, like, cop to something minor instead of copping to the actual shit. Maybe. I don't know. We'll work on that one.
would be more upfront and ask for less money, and those people will never see the money that they need to survive. Some of them might, but a lot of them will never see it. A lot of them simply have never been granted the platform, the attention, the media attention. What Keffals went through was a lot of bad stuff, okay? There was a lot of terrible stuff that happened to Keffals.
What she went through? Like, what about the shit that she brought on herself? What about all the shit that she put other people through? Like, really? Really?
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But there were a lot of decisions made here that have no
I think there's a lot of ifs and or buts, but let's keep going.
excuse whatsoever. There is no excuse for saying you're going to do a legal fund and not using any of that for legal purposes. There is no
Look how angry she is now that everyone else turned on her. Like, come on.
excuse for not just saying up front, I need an emergency fund, my life has been destroyed, help me out. There is no excuse for taking $100,000 when you already have a decent income and then doing none of the above things that I've mentioned. There is no excuse for any of that, okay? And I say this as somebody who is very sympathetic to a lot of the stuff that she went through, who defended her on those fronts and would still do so. I would still be willing to say that the harassment that she faced was fucking garbage, that the vast majority of people...
So we're not gonna go into any real criticisms of the way she was conducting herself, the way she had other people harassed. But then if Demon Mama did that, she'd have to, like, you know, there'd have to be some kind of... Fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone uses it constantly. She'd have to take accountability for the shit that her community does, like the Riley Grace Rashong thing. I mean, Keffals' community even recently managed to get, like, that Just a Worm guy banned off Twitter because we all decided that his picture of her, was transphobic. Why? Because it looked a bit ugly. Like, it's insane. And we're still trying to paint her as a victim. Still, how stupid are you? Seriously, get fucking real.
Who came at her leading up to this event were doing so from a truly disgusting place and had malice in their hearts. But none of that can excuse the decisions that Keffals chose to make. Axolotls with Cream says, I will continue to say it. Victims can do bad things. That doesn't mean they aren't victims. I agree. And also, it doesn't mean that what they did isn't bad and doesn't deserve to be talked about. The reason that to restate, the reason that I'm bringing this up and talking to everybody about it is because I myself was a donor to this GoFundMe. I gave a not small amount of money to the GoFundMe. Way back when it was a lot smaller, to be fair. I also said, hey, people, help out. This is someone in need. And...
Someone in need. Like, fuck me. I don't know how this didn't look complete batshit from the start to people. I don't know where your head has to be at, how much copium you must be on for trans people to do that shit. Like, seriously, fuck me. For those of us that knew how weird it was from the start, it's just, like, this is, like, pathetic, man. Really?
It feels bad. It feels bad to know that not only did things just not work out well, but that there was extreme deception in this process. That there was an active element of dishonesty.
No shit. People were telling you this for ages.
Active avoidance of responsibility. An active avoidance of basic communication with people who gave out of the goodness of their heart. Look, it is difficult to admit when you're wrong. It is difficult to say I fucked up, okay? Everybody, all of us knows that. Every human on the planet knows that it can be hard to own up to something. But when people have given to you out of their pocket to you for nothing in return, the least that you owe them is the truth, okay? The least. Now, there's a lot of other things that we have to talk about. Because, of course, this is not just about the GoFundMe. I hate to tell you that we are still a ways away from our destination of having this behind us. We have more to talk about. There has been a lot of other allegations that have been brought against Keffals in the process of all of this. And some of it I can speak to directly and was able to verify. Other ones, I think, do not have a whole lot of credibility. And I wanted to talk about a couple of the things that were discussed.
Let's see if she does go into the hormones thing. That'd be interesting, actually, because it would seem like a kind of conflict of interest between where she's at politically and what's kind of happened, you know?
that have been discussed recently. The first one. Oh God, this is all so stressful to discuss. Okay.
Come on, you can do it. I believe in you.
Privately and publicly, you all can probably take a look at, if you're a regular viewer of me. I know that tonight there's a lot of people who are not regular viewers of me. So welcome to those who are here who are not regular viewers.
You must have a high count compared to normal. Like, from what I've seen, like, it's not looking great for her channel. But then, what do you expect? She hitched a wagon to fucking Vorsh and his cabal. Like, where's Xanderhal now? He gets, like, what, 150 on, like, a politics stream? Professor Sunday literally being like, President Sunday being like, I get the same amount of views on, like, a theory stream. You know what I'm saying?
Of me. I hope you find the way that I talk about this valuable, insightful, and focused. But those of you who have been with me
Focused. It's a 2-hour video. Whatever, let's go.
for a long time, you all know that there has been an increased public distance between myself and my community and Keffals and her community for some time. As I mentioned before this segment, and a little bit during the segment early on, a lot of that came from the fact that she decided to pivot her channel at one point into making drama content. And drama content is something that I feel, to put it lightly, very negatively about.
But she makes, oh my God, are you serious? You're making drama content, for one. Are you seriously going to say that you're not making drama content? I already did this, but like, fuck it. Let's just do it again. Like, let's have a look. Like, who cares about this? Adversity, exposed for gaming lies. Drama. What else we got? Elon Musk. I mean, would I say that's drama? And the truth about this insane drama. So she's self-admitting there. Libs of TikTok. Wait, she covered keffals? Is that keffals? Ah, maybe not. It looks like her. Biden bots. Controversy ignites over streamer jobs. She does drama. Like, come on, you're not gonna pull like a fast one on people. Because if you look, you can tell, like, I don't think she's changed at all. I said, I don't think she's as mad as she used to be. But, like, just don't lie. You do drama content, and it's probably the reason your channel is fucking surviving. Because 18k views, you're not getting that on your normal stuff. It comes from drama content. And the people that have become successful at this fucking Twitch shit are the ones that do drama content and have focused on that specifically.
I think that it is important.
Here's the thing, like, as important as it is not to let someone like Keffals pull the wool over your eyes, it's just as important not to let someone like this pull the wool over your eyes, right?
Incredibly toxic. And I think if you just go look at her channel and you look at the recent stuff that she has put out on her channel, a lot of it is pretty bad. A lot of it is what I would consider to be somewhat similar to the very same behaviors that led to people obsessing over her channel. It is finding
the same behaviors, people obsessing over her channel. I think people found a lot of the stuff she was doing very dodgy. Like, why are we still like trying to pull this like ruse, you know, that the other people involved were all like insane, as if she wasn't doing the same shit, for one thing. All the ratioing stuff, how is that not just like online harassment? Like, bringing all kinds of shit on top of herself. Like, how flagrant she was about everything. What did she expect? Why can't we have like some acknowledgement of like the A to B from her behavior and the consequences of that behavior? It's like so much sweeping for someone who's pulled a fast one on you and your entire community and plenty of people you have a lot in common with that you quite possibly actually care about. I don't know. I'm not sure about fucking Demon Mama. I know what Keffals clearly thinks, but Jesus Christ.
A person that you think is bad, obsessing over them, digging into them, etc. For my part, I did not want anything to do with that. In fact, I made a fairly scathing video earlier a couple months ago, talking about my desire to not be involved in a drama that went down between Keffals and another content creator named Xanderhal.
Oh, this was some good shit, man. Like, she missed out. I mean, it's obvious, like, these people, especially with the divorce shit, everything that's gone on in the last, like, year or so, it's no surprise that they're going to be keeping quiet and not wanting to ruin their own, you know, a good thing for themselves with the kind of clout deal that they're getting from Vorsh, which obviously is not really there now. I don't know what he does. He didn't really feature these people ever anyway. He wasn't really he wasn't really doing that much for them. It was just kind of vouching for them or something, as far as I can tell. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll look into Vorsh a little bit more.
In which I was repeatedly invoked. I felt like both sides of that incident were attempting to get me involved in one way or another. I found it insulting. I mean,
she got involved in like the shoe on head drama. Like, that's probably what put her off, because of how utterly ridiculous she behaved. And the backlash that came from that, right? Like, I think that might be like the straw that broke the camel's back and made her realize. And maybe that's when I'll have to have a look into that, because I wonder if she's kind of changed her stance since then. But then she still makes fucking drama videos anyway. So hey, what we supposed to get from this?
Very strict about not wanting to be involved about it. I was bombarded because both parties were commenting on and tagging me in on things. It was very frustrating. Okay, and I made it very clear publicly that I wanted no involvement. But unfortunately, in private, there were other things that were going down that I also had no desire to make a matter of public knowledge or a matter of public conversation. I didn't really think that most of them mattered to the greater public. It was my own personal experiences, my own personal judgments. I felt like, and I'm going to talk about them now because it's relevant to what we're going to talk about in just a minute, but I felt like Keffals was veering into very dangerous territory with regard to her behavior towards trauma, with regard towards how she wanted to angle her community, what she wanted her community to basically do, and also towards the types of actions that she...
Bear in mind how long she's been like already scamming people for and already lying to people for, by the way. Like, I don't know why this needs so much of a focus, quite honestly.
Willing to engage in her conflicts with other content creators. And fairly more recently, I was made aware of a number of other fairly concerning things that I feel are necessary to talk about, because I feel that what this demonstrates is not just a willingness to be deceptive, but a willingness to use underhanded tactics, some of them very extreme.
Also, now we get the real, this is the kick into the grave, into the hole, right? This is like the last act, because everyone else has already like backstabbed her anyway, or, you know, fuck, whatever. Let's just keep going.
In the name of getting social media victory. And I don't know where things are going to go from here, but I feel like I wanted to talk about these things that I have been made aware of, things that I think are worthy of discussing. And yeah, so let me bring this up and we'll talk about this next section here, because yeah. Okay, so the first incident I feel that it is necessary to discuss is the topic of doxing. Now, I have heard accusations around on social media of Keffals taking very strange steps against other creators in the space, but I had not received much
If you have Mr. Kinesia, by the way, I'm so sorry for her midriff. I'm so fucking sorry. I could hide it, but whatever.
Evidence. That, of course, has changed as part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that I prepped for this video, because I think that where it ended up was freakish.
She prepped for this video, by the way.
Strange and wrong. First of all, and this has been discussed and talked about elsewhere, but there was a server that has recently been talked about that contained a number of people as members of Keffals' community that functioned as basically a dirt digging community. This was at least for a while, a secret server that Keffals ran with a number of her members of her team, some of which have spoken to me directly about it, two of which have spoken to me directly about it, in fact, one of which is still talking about it publicly, another of which has completely decided to disappear off the internet after fleeing Keffals' team. Now, this server was credit to the now unknown team member that did this, but this server was destroyed by an act of sabotage by a member of Keffals' own team, and so very few receipts or messages from this server exist. So that server, I have no screenshots to show you because it was destroyed. However, I can tell you, and again, this is me putting my reputation on the line here, that I have spoken to multiple members of Keffals' team, myself, and verified that yes, this server did indeed exist. Yes, there wasn't...
Demon Mama's reputation is on the line. That means so much, right? Jesus Christ, who takes this fucking clown seriously? Like, really?
Within Keffals' team, there was internal discomfort with the server, and that yes, the server was engaged in collecting dirt, images, receipts, whatever you want to call them, on a number of other figures, including figures that Keffals anticipated potential disagreements with. Some of these were people that she had at one point called friends. Some of them were people that she was on neutral terms with. I do not know the full extent of whose information was gathered there. It is possible that I had information on there. Thankfully, to my knowledge, I did not, but it is possible. I don't know the full extent. All I know is that this server did exist and that it was being used to collect receipts. What I do, however, have a receipt for is this right here, okay? And this is a receipt that I have censored, that I was given directly by a former member of Keffals' team. Okay, and I want to talk about this because this is pretty serious. Here is the message. This happened in November of 2023. Here is Keffals saying, "Oh, you up? I have something more, yikes." And a former member of Keffals' team by the name of Cherry says, "What do you have?"
Yeah, she doxed people. She was engaging in so much of this, like, online bully fucking behavior. Again, you knew what kind of person she was. How could you not have?
Keffals says, "As an immigrant myself, I know we all get assigned visa numbers, and with that, here is the docs of a fellow YouTuber. That was beefing with Keffals at that time. Now, obviously, I have censored this, but I have seen the original version of this message, and I found it very upsetting and concerning. But it gets worse. Let's continue.
There you go. Who is it? Bad Empanada. Demon Mama knows where you live now. How about that?
No way. How did you find that out? The same way I know that Second Thought is blank, and I have his home address. I'm insane." And then Cherry says, "Does Kiwi Farms have this info?" And Keffals says, "No, I did it myself. I never published."
As if we need any more, like, confirmation that Keffals was like a slight change of circumstances from just being a Kiwi farmer. But this was obvious for ages. What the hell?
this info. It's just like a game for me. Now, we don't know just how many people she got docs on. What I do know is from testimony of members of her team that she was using her own personal money to sometimes hire people in order to attain these docs just to keep on file for her own purposes. I find that pretty untrustworthy. Now, I have no love for the YouTubers who were affected by this, but I think that doxing them and keeping their personal information down to information about their immigration status is a fairly suspect thing to do, especially if you're someone who...
But why are you surprised that she was doing this? Why are you surprised by any of this? I don't understand, like, at all. Like, how easily manipulated must you be to have not had any inkling of this? Like, seriously.
has also been targeted by doxers. And I will say that it made me feel very unsafe. And I still do to a certain degree. Now, I'm fairly confident in what I do with my stream. I'm fairly confident in myself, and I'm lucky enough to live in a fairly safe area. But I know that it is possible that Keffals has docs on more people. We know for a fact that Keffals likely has docs on her own former employees. And that's a very
Yeah, she probably has loads of docs, but she's not shit now, so, like, who cares?
upsetting thing to think about, given that she has openly admitted to members of her team, which has now been made public, that she's collecting docs on people. When we combine that with the knowledge that she had an active server, a secret active server, in which she was collecting as much dirt on other people in these spaces as she could, in anticipation of conflicts with them, together, this paints a very, very bad picture. A picture of lots of dishonesty and of a lot of willingness to go to ends that I think all of us would agree is way too far. Way too far. And I've also been given something else. In addition to Keffals being willing to run a server digging dirt on people, in addition to Keffals being willing to attain the docs of people who she was beefing with, some of whom, no doubt, are abusive people. In addition to gloating about that, I've also been let in on a situation directly from someone on her team who was willing to tell me this story. Now, some of you will recall that at one point, Keffals had a falling out with a number of other online left figures, some of which were instigated. You know, there were some people who were like, I don't like this Keffals person. There was some of it was really stupid, like I've talked about that fucking noodle bullshit. That shit was really dumb, very cringe in my opinion. And some of it was less like that. One of the people, I should say.
She really wants to, like, shit on Destiny, I bet. Like, she can't, because he'll come calling, but, like, I don't know. I feel like that's what's going on here.
I was gonna say one of the things that happened, or one of the people that Keffals conflicted with, is a fairly large breadtuber, video essayist by the name of Jack Saint. Many of you will be familiar with Jack Saint. Keffals and Jack Saint had a fairly public conflict that started a pattern of Keffals leaking people's DMs. In fact, she got a fairly bad reputation, even among people who were, sort of on her side generally, for being a DM leaker. But this really, really, really went over the line for me, and I think you'll understand why when I read it. When I was an editor for Keffals, she told me she secretly recorded a call with Jack Saint and that she wanted me to deceptively edit the call to make it sound like he was being abusive towards her. This isn't an isolated incident at all. Obviously, a ton has come out illustrating her pattern of knowingly smearing people, and this is just one of many situations where she would float the idea of lying so maliciously like that. This is also why many people who have been close to her are now afraid of her. This was told to me, and I...
If you're watching this for literally any fucking reason, I don't know why you would be. This is the sole piece of new information I think that Demon Mama actually has on this, and the rest is just her coping about how could she have known that the wool was being pulled over her eyes for, 2 years or so, if not longer. Like, come on, get fucking real. Like, seriously?
received permission to talk about this publicly and to share this message publicly, but this was at one point was spoken to me in confidence because the person who leaked this message was very afraid of retaliation. They had not been comfortable with this request. They had voiced their discomfort with this request and had been continually asked to participate in this process. Now, eventually, thankfully, this did not end up happening. But the plan was there. Now, the reason it didn't happen is because other drama surfaced and actually distracted. But I want you to think about what that says about someone. This is, and also part of the reason why
I don't know. What does it say about someone that you'd try and get them disbarred with all your fans when, like, when you don't like their opinion? Like, Jesus.
Talk about this is because I think it reflects on everything else, every other claim that we know about keffals.
Like, okay, I'm sorry. I have this strong feeling that keffals is probably like the worst one. But is it not like tortoises all the way down at a certain point? Like every trans activist I watch, it doesn't matter how big they are. It doesn't matter the size of like their faux pas, whatever they've done, whether it's just making a fool of yourself on the TV or stealing 100K and doing a bunch of other shady shit. But Jesus Christ, like all of these people seem terrible so far. And watching this person go after keffals, it's like a slightly better person going after a pretty terrible person. Like, I can't take her very seriously. And again, how did you not know this? This was like public information, so much of this. This new thing, it's the only thing that we're getting. Apart from that, it's just coping. Because she got played for a fool. And she could have seen it. There was so many ways. Like, this person is at least 30 years old. They're responsible for feeding themselves the correct information and, you know, perceiving it the right way. Like, fuck me. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that someone like keffals could that easily do over most of the trans community like this. And the ones of us that were suspicious of this, we were the ones getting shat on. We were the ones no one was listening to. So I don't fucking know. What am I supposed to tell you?
It seriously damages her ability to be trusted on any claims about this or anything else. If she was willing to ask her own team to engage in not just deceptive editing, but explicitly deceptive editing of a secretly recorded call of another public figure that was designed to frame him as an abuser for her own benefit.
Like, I'm sorry. This new information, it's like at most the cherry on top of the cake. There was so many other hints. The way she was acting, but you were all cool with it because it was pro-trans rights. Even now, earlier in the video, she's talking about how it was kind of this ratioing shit. It was like righteous somehow. It's not righteous. It's just someone shitting on other people that they've decided are bad people. And somehow it's only bad when it goes to keffals and not the other way around. Like, we need to start using our brains. Like, seriously, we need to start using our brains. It's that simple. And I really hope I'm running out of like expectations for this, but surely she's got to like acknowledge some of this at some point, you know?
That is a deep and disgusting level of dishonesty. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? Through all of this stuff coming out, through all of the discussion, keffals hasn't said anything. Keffals hasn't followed up and cleared up any of these claims. She's just gone quiet. And it makes me wonder what the next step is really going to be. And I think it's a real possibility that instead of any type of accountability or any type of apology to a community, that there's more of things like this in the future. Do you blame anyone in her life for being afraid? Do you blame any of her team members who obviously know that she had their docs from being employees? Do you blame anyone for feeling scared of that? Do you blame any of her colleagues who were less well endowed monetarily, people with smaller platforms, from being unwilling to speak out? Because I can't. As time went on in my personal relationship with keffals, I became more and more concerned about other things that she was doing that started to make me lose trust. Now, on the GoFundMe thing, I did not have hard evidence of where she went until fairly recently, all things considered. I had tidbits here and there, but it took me a long time to be able to put together a case that I was comfortable talking to you all about. And I think you guys can understand why I felt it was necessary to talk about you all with this. And also why I feel it's so stressful. And also why it's so frustrating that there's so many things. There are so many claims that have been levied against keffals that do not have any evidence for them. Nothing. But it is so hard to filter through everything when you have someone who is willing to lie this much, who is willing to go this far, to deceive and to continue benefiting from other people.
It's not hard. You're just stupid enough to be manipulated by someone who might be a bit stupid, but is probably smarter than you are.
put the wrench on other people. Now, no doubt, Keffals went up against some pretty heinous people, okay? But a lot of the people that we're talking about here, do you think Jack Saint deserved to have a plot to be privately recorded against his will and to have a plot built against him to deceptively edit the call to plan his cancellation? Do you think—
Well, I don't know. Do you think Chud Logic deserved to be called a pedophile? Do you think Destiny deserved to get called a stealther? Like, where are we drawing the line? Let's see.
anybody deserve that? Do you think the people who are getting dirt gathered on them, on her, now destroyed, thank goodness to whoever did that, now destroyed—
It's like the politics is just so, like, transparent through all of this. She'll only mention the people that are safe, you know, not the kind of people that her community doesn't like and that she doesn't like. It's Jesus Christ. Because it's like sweeping. It's like, fuck. You can't really acknowledge any of the people you don't like because they're the ones that were telling you and they were right and you didn't listen because you have some preconceived notion about people you don't agree with. And we're not getting to the root of the problem with dipshits like this believing fucking dipshits like keffals.
server. What makes me so sad about this situation is that basically everyone else, except for Keffals, has lost out because of Keffals' actions. This hurts.
Oh, I would say she's losing out pretty badly, and it's probably going to get worse. Like, do you think there's not going to be any legal ramifications whatsoever from this? Like, it could get a lot worse. Like, most likely she'll just rot, because who's going to watch her now? She'll get propped up by the few idiot trans people that are still stupid enough somehow to get manipulated by her. I guess that's the best she's got now. So I would say she's probably faced some consequences, you know.
Genuine fundraising efforts. It hurts anyone who, out of the goodness of their heart, gave. It hurts anybody who reasonably said, wow, some of the shit that you're going through is bad. It hurts everyone's ability to sort out.
Reasonably say that some of the shit she's going through is bad. She brought it on herself. Just admit it. Why not just be real? Why not just think for yourself?
Anything about this situation. It is a disaster, an unmitigated disaster, and the bulk of the damage is being absorbed by people who aren't Keffals. God, we could even talk about the DIY HRT stuff. I don't have a whole lot to say about that, but let's just say that Keffals has not done favors for the DIY HRT people out there.
Yeah, because she's pro this shit, so she's not going to get into it in detail. She wants to feed hormones to kids, so, like, come on.
Who are putting their necks out to save people. A lot, and I mean a
Save people. There it is.
lot of negative attention has been driven directly towards them as a result of Keffals' actions.
This is true, to be fair. Like, if you're now getting scrutiny for being some weirdo making bathtub estrogen for young people to take, like, God knows what happens if one of them actually gets ill, by the way, but, like, yeah, Keffals has, by being so flagrant and so blatant and so ridiculous, and, you know, when I say flagrant, it just makes me think all the more as to how someone like this couldn't possibly have known before how insane this was. Did she not see the kind of action she was taking, the kind of shit she was saying around, like, the HRT thing? Did she not think maybe this was gonna bring a microscope onto it in a way that we don't want? But then we don't understand that clearly. Like, transdea visibility, is it us being more visible, or is it just us putting a target on our backs? Like, is visibility really always that important? She made something more visible, and that's now harmed it.
Severe damage has been done to HRT networks that are essential. Reputational damage, notwithstanding, not just reputational damage.
Here's this person with horns. This is Demon Mama. She is now shitting on Keffals, someone she used to be friends with, who stole a bunch of money from people, has been, like, getting young children on, like, HRT hormones, you know, to transition gender, all kinds of shit. And this person is now pretending that she didn't know this all along. Like, she was so betrayed when there was so much evidence out there. Like, this Keffals person has not been smart. They've been showing themselves for who they are for, like, 2 years, and this idiot is not. She's not taking, like, accountability for the fact that she got completely thrown for a loop because she was stupid enough to believe this person. I don't like the horns myself. Like, I like them on animals. I don't know about people.
I should say, but financial and physical damage. Her own team has suffered.
Like, me personally, I just wear normal clothes. That's just me.
From all this, the people who defended her and didn't do anything wrong in defending her, the people who defended her publicly.
The people who didn't do anything wrong in defending her. Well, I mean, they defended someone who was defrauding people, committing fraud. I don't know. I'm saying the wrong thing, probably.
The vast majority of them were defending her for very rational reasons. They couldn't have known any.
Rational, like what? The Kiwi Farm stuff was shit.
Of this.
I mean, I don't like their take. You can disagree if you want. I think this person's a complete moron. Like, there were so many signs about this keffals person that this person was ignoring, like, propping her up. Like, that's my opinion. If anyone wants to disagree, they are more than welcome to come in and say so. I'm up for, like, any kind of conversation, honestly.
I think that I've demonstrated through all this that I'm capable of being sympathetic and also critical. My sympathy dries up when we get to this level of deception, when we get to this level of greed. When we get
This
to
level of deception and greed. Jesus Christ.
this level of an unwillingness to
It sounds like she's trying to wrap this up, but there's still 24. It's not 24 minutes for me. Yeah, that's fair enough. This person was like a big lolcow when there used to be a big thing around like Twitch politics, like people like Destiny and Vorsh and stuff like that. Because she'd come in and just act completely unhinged, like just the worst kind of like debate bro, aggressive bullshit. And now this person's career is falling off too because Vorsh did what he did, showing off his porn folder to the world. And her other friend keffals has finally been brought down, so.
And again, most of the people.
But like I have a specific interest in like what other trans people, should I say, on the internet are doing, so that's why it's kind of relevant to me.
The vast majority of people who gave the keffals GoFundMe and her stream do not make as much money as keffals did. They do not have the platform and the voice that keffals did. And I think that's bad. I've seen people online basically trying to say that all of this is just, you know, throwaway, rehashed drama. But I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. And I'm someone who is willing to say, I was willing to say to people, if you don't have hard evidence about the GoFundMe, then get the fuck out of my face. Because I don't operate off of.
Well, there's hard evidence, and then there's applying a bit of discretion and thinking about it for yourself, and maybe just not sweeping for this person so hard, you know?
Vibes. Okay, I don't like operating off of vibes. I don't know if you can tell. I was willing to tell people that, and eventually, I got the hard evidence. I got the hard evidence from people who were not out there spending all day tweeting about keffals. I got the evidence from people who actually put their nose to the grindstone and found out the truth. I got evidence from people within keffals.
What, like Destiny, who showed all this off like a year and a half ago, right?
Team who were willing to speak up about things that they felt were wrong. These were the people who were the close.
Yeah, so many people were, but all the fucking trans people were just sweeping for her. You're coming out now when she's already finished. You're like the last person to stick a knife in. It's insane. It's pathetic.
The most invested. A lot of whom were severely mistreated by keffals, by the way. Just on a personal level. As somebody who seriously values what the other people on my team and in my community do for me, I see the way that keffals treated her team, the people who were working crazy hard to make her have a platform, to make her make an income.
Oh, my day's going good. Chilling, doing this. Make some food later. How about you?
Those people got treated sometimes with just utter disdain. Travis T says, genuinely, Demon Mama, your policy of not operating on vibes have made you one of the only people I feel would be a reasonably trustworthy source to talk about the situation.
Not operating on vibes. Why are we reading chat? No one cares what your dumb fuck chat is saying. People willingly give money to these people. And you see them in the chat, and now we get to hear what they think. I don't want to know what a person who gives this person money thinks.
Too many people go off on stuff
Oh, what game are you playing? Nice.
like this half-cocked. Look, I want to give a lot of credit to Staroxvia over on Twitter, @Staroxvia. Staroxvia did a lot of work to compile all of this in one place. And of course, I saw these things before it went public. I was asked to do my own structure and not to just jump in.
Oh, is it like old school or like the new one? I used to play RuneScape when I was like 13, but that was like 20 years ago at this point.
Dump things. And I don't. If people ask me to hold off and they want to protect their sources, I respect that. But I want to give a lot of credit to Staroxvia for being willing to compile.
Ah, nice. Yeah. I had a phase of it. One of my exes really liked RuneScape, but I pretty much, I didn't really play it properly. I just kind of do things that annoyed other people. And yeah, we broke up and I never played it again. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you like something, you like it. I still like Pokemon. I mean, I was a kid when the first one came out, so I still play all the games, even if they're a bit kind of, you know, like the new one especially. It's like, they're so easy now. It's just kind of boring. And I get they're for kids or whatever, but they definitely got easier as it went along, unfortunately.
Compile all of this in one place so that we could use this as a jumping off point. There have been, I'm talking so many people over the last few years who've had things to say about keffals, and most of what they've had to say has been useless. In fact, there have been other videos out there that spend half the runtime of their video talking about things that have absolutely nothing to do with the serious things that keffals did wrong and fixating on what I would consider to be laughable evidence. So I want to provide.
Like what? Like what? Are you going to call anyone out specifically, or just sit there like a coward, just, oh, well, I'm smarter than you. Yeah, I got fucking duped by keffals, one of the stupidest people that's shown their face on the internet in recent memory.
Credit where credit is due to Staroxia for putting the most essential details in one place. Now, obviously, I went and verified these things. I have spent, I can't even begin to tell you how much time I've spent thinking about this, okay? Thinking about this and putting together what I want to say. It has been a lot of time. And I also recognize that there is a very real chance that myself and other people face some kind of repercussion for even talking about this. Given everything that I've shown, I think you can conclude why most of us would come to that conclusion, that there is a chance that there will be some kind of vengeance or
vengeance from keffals now? Like, really? Stop being a pussy. Like, oh, I hate this shit. I hate these people so much.
What's the right word? Retaliation. It's very possible. I don't know if that will happen, but I feel this stuff needed to be said. I don't know. The idea that I don't think anybody should feel bad about, I've said this 100 times, I'm going to say it again, but I don't think anybody should ever feel bad about supporting someone who they believe to be in need. I think who deserves to feel bad is the person who lied. And with all of that said.
Yeah, but why was no one applying scrutiny? And why were the people who were applying scrutiny being ignored? Because this has been going on a long time. And you chose to ignore people because why? You decided they were bad faith? Or because your fucking old daddy Vorsh didn't like him?
I don't feel like I could have just walked away from this situation and felt okay with knowing that I donated, and that I also said, hey, I donated this. Other people consider donating to help somebody in need, without telling everybody the truth.
Like, how much signal boosting did she do? Does she not feel bad about that? The fact that she probably, arguably, got her community to donate to something this dodgy that turned out how it did?
She says, I feel so shitty about this. I was going to bat for her even last week. For people who were willing to defend her out of reflex, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, part of the reason why
There's nothing wrong with defending her out of reflex. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we at a point where trans people defend each other for doing the dumbest shit on reflex? That's not a good thing. That's bad. That's people not thinking.
Why both myself and Staroxia and others, members of Keffals' own team, felt pressured to come out and talk about this. We felt a responsibility, a moral and reputational and social responsibility, all of these things. We felt these things because we know that the average person out there would correctly conclude, a reasonable person would be like, hey, this shit, they've been told that, of course. If you believe what you've been told, and a lot of this stuff has not been public stuff. It's been deception that has been kept from the eyes of the public. So
there has been so much, like, oh my God. It's like she's pretending so much stuff didn't happen. So many videos weren't made. So much evidence wasn't put together. And just, you know, indirectly shitting on any of it that isn't from a source that's like sanitary enough for her or something. It's, oh, this is so weak, man. Is she gonna meaningfully fucking say anything about this?
all of us felt the need for everyone's purpose.
Oh, thank you. I would like to think so too.
For your own, for those of you out there who are saying, hey, I don't think it's reasonable the way that this person, that Keffals was treated. And you would be right to conclude that. But then it's another step to say, well, you know, now that I know these things, maybe it's not my responsibility to feel the need to defend someone who has not been honest with me.
Well, it's not your responsibility to defend anyone. You don't owe that to anybody, so why did so many people sweep for her?
That was a little bit clumsy, and I apologize. The wording there didn't make it.
So basically, this person was friends with someone for like 2 years who did a GoFundMe, which turned out to be a complete scam, and that has been running for a long time. Something to do with like, what was it? Action against the police because she got swatted, trying to take down kiwi farms, which they managed to for like a week at best. And like, because everyone else has now disowned this keffals person because someone else made a huge video about it, which isn't even the first video someone's made about it, she's now like sticking the knife in on her former friend. And to me, this is like pretty pathetic because this person has done a fair amount of sweeping for her, has encouraged people to participate in this GoFundMe that was for nothing. Like, she put half of it up her nose, probably.
All that much sense. I'm trying to tie this off in a way that makes sense, but it's honestly, I feel very frustrated and disappointed.
I'm gonna tie this off. We still got ages. Jesus Christ. I'm playing this on, what is it? 175. I hate to think what this sounds like on like normal speed. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but I already know what this person's like in terms of talking, so.
Rosie says, one question, why did she do this? I don't fucking know. Nobody can say that. I mean, $100,000 is definitely a reason.
Yeah, I've been going for 2 hours, 7 minutes. Pretty much, I watch whatever I'm interested in. Anything useful, I'll put on YouTube. I'm just on the same name on YouTube. And that's about it, really. I'm looking into a lot of, like, trans rights activists who I personally think are not doing great things. Because we have this overwhelming need to never criticize each other, like trans people. And it's getting to the point where people can do any kind of insane shit. And then, like, people like this, like, she will defend those kind of people to the ends of the earth until everyone else has, like, come out and shat on her and proven that this person has been up to no good. This is what I feel like we're watching, if that makes sense.
Have done some things, but other ones don't make that much sense. I think some of it is ego. I think some of it is being in over your head. I think some of it is
yeah, I get what you mean.
You know, pure self-aggrandizement.
I think there's a lot of criticism that has to be put out there first if we're going to start making any progress. Because to me, it seems like trans rights has gone backwards, and I can't just blame, like, the right or whatever. That there's certainly a huge problem in that regard, sure, but we have to, like, look inwards as well as outwards, and no one else is doing it. So I guess I am now. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not working right now. Why the fuck not? You know.
Of fame. I think some of it is wanting to preserve something that you had going really good. You know, at the peak of her streaming career, she was making a lot of money from this. Now she hasn't streamed very much. She's kind of disappeared from the public eye, which I don't really know exactly why that is. I won't lie.
I don't know why it is. You do know. I'm completely convinced that this person genuinely was taken in by keffals, and keffals is not an intelligent person. So, you know, I'll let people make their own mind up of how intelligent this person must be to have been taken in by keffals.
I did find it very weird that she said that she was going to be releasing information about her legal case, and then none of that ever happened, and all of a sudden she kind of disappears from the internet. To me, given everything else that we've seen, that comes off kind of like you're hoping people will forget about you. Enough people will forget about you. And I do find, I am worried that there is a significant portion of her community that is going to be willing to further enable this type of behavior. I hope not.
Well, yeah, for the same kind of reasons that you pushed for her for, like, years. You were, like, simping for her, whatever the fuck. I'm getting tired.
I want to say that won't happen.
Yeah, I get that. Like, for me, it shouldn't matter. Like, people can be whatever they want. I have an issue with it when it starts to impact other people's rights. And I certainly have an issue with it when it's someone like keffals who uses, like, the trans rights thing in order to get a huge amount of money from the community to then just spend on, like, her own stuff, pretending it's for, like, some kind of legal fund. So, like, that's kind of one of the issues I have. And then, I don't know, I think representation matters. And I think when people are representing us that badly and no one's saying anything and no one's criticizing it, I think someone has to, personally.
I want to believe that it won't happen. I know that my community and her community have a...
It's going to happen over and over until you people fucking learn to criticize each other and to scrutinize each other, the shit that you're doing. You could have learned this shit at any point in, like, 2 years, and you didn't. You have to understand why this is. She's got, how long left? Maybe there's something in here.
Some level of overlap. There are a lot of good people. There's a lot of good people in keffals community, a lot of really kind and good-hearted people. And I hope that part of her community is able to win out, and that part will recognize not just that they were deceived, but that other people were deceived, and that they'll show grace, you know? Some ordinary gamers, good to see you. My name's Demon Mama. Some ordinary gamer says the money taken from actual trans causes and the community is the real issue. I 100% agree with that conclusion. I think that
Some ordinary gamers is the one that did the latest expose on keffals. There's been numerous, but it's his that got real traction.
That right there, what you just said, is absolutely the core issue here. That a lot of the people,
she's like so nervous. How do I have so much faith in humanity? Yeah, I don't know.
Like I said before, that a lot of the people who donated here were people in need themselves. People who do not see a path to a safe existence. People who do not see a path to financial stability. But they hoped that maybe with what they had in their hand, that they could help somebody else who is in more danger than themselves, that they perceive as in more danger, and that maybe some good change would happen. There's a joke in the trans community. Some of you will have probably heard it, but the joke is that in the trans community there is one $20 bill, and it just keeps circling around between trans people as they need it. One trans person gives the other person $20, and then that trans person gives the $20 to the next trans person.
I'm not in the community enough to know this kind of thing. Like, I made a few efforts to get into trans communities years ago and realized that they were the most cancerous things on the fucking planet, which is another reason why I've got a bee in my bonnet about this stuff, I guess.
Person. The $20 goes around in a circle, and there's a joke about that, and You know, obviously, there's more than $20, but it's pretty rough out there for a lot of trans people. And a lot of those people, they took their $20 and they put it towards someone who told them they were going to be doing one thing and didn't do any of that.
Yeah, didn't do any of it for 2 years, and you claimed not to know. You're claiming ignorance now when so many people, because it's like people you don't like Destiny, doing the exposing, whereas now it's unavoidable. You're getting in now because it's unavoidable and because it's already happened, and you're just sticking in the fucking millionth knife at this point. What does it matter if you're doing it, seeing as everyone else has already done it?
It makes me mad. It makes me extremely mad. And it hurts when I hear that it's like $100,000 was given and out of other people's money, and that was spent to upgrade, you know, stream. The rest of us spend our own money if we want to do that. Some of us go into debt for it. You know, take a legal fund, sell a movement or a campaign on the internet. It's yeah.
Well, I mean, fucking hell. Like, I keep saying this. Keffals is just like the worst example. Like, the money that these people get, like, what are they really doing for causes? Apart from spewing, like, she's an anarchist or something. I'm not going to pretend to understand what she actually stands for. But, I don't know. It is what it is. There's a lot more problems than just fucking Keffals in the trans community.
There's one other thing I want to talk about. And this is very personal. I guess before we wrap up. This is very personal on this, but towards the end of my relationship with Keffals. By the way, just so that this is out there as a final conclusion on this, when I retweeted Staroxvia's thread, I was immediately blocked by Keffals.
Oh no, what a shame.
Since then, members of Keffals' current team have tried to reach out to me to correct the record, to which I received no response, by the way. This was as of a couple of days ago, someone claiming to be a member of Keffals' team who, from all that I can tell, appears to be a member of Keffals' team in Keffals' close circle, wanted to clarify things. This was a couple of days ago, and I asked, okay then, if you have hard evidence to the contrary, send it to me. I am not interested in getting lost in some kind of wiffle waffle bullshit. They never responded to me. In fact, they went on to advance a false allegation against a member of Keffals, a former member of Keffals' team, which was pretty heinous. And instead of responding to me, they just did that. And I asked this person, why hasn't Keffals reached out to me? And I think we know the answer. But now that I've been completely blocked, and I want you to understand, like, again, you guys can go see the record of my public relationship with Keffals, which my private relationship with Keffals is a lot longer, okay? But my public relationship with Keffals was one always of
Yeah, I get what you mean. Maybe it's my age. I tend to see people as rounded entities, I guess. There's stuff that I'm going to be not particularly okay with about pretty much anyone if I dig deep enough. And there's going to be stuff that I like about people at the same time, and those can exist in the same people. So I don't know. I try not to be too... Okay, maybe we're a similar age then. I guess that's just how I see it. I guess it doesn't matter to me if I really think someone's a bad person, then that's just how it is. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm still it's kind of, this is a process, if you will. I'm still kind of learning. I'm learning about myself as well as other stuff, right?
camaraderie, of support, of a willingness to critique constructively. But towards the end of my relationship with Keffals, my friendship with Keffals, my colleagueship with Keffals, I really did feel that I was being used, that someone was trying to play me in their own game. And
God, how long did it take you? Like, people were screaming this shit from the rooftops for a year and a half. I'm not religious myself. I don't have a problem with, like, religion. Like, members of my family are religious and they're perfectly good people. And, like, you know, you get the crazies, that's not all of them. But for me, it's like, I can't really fathom that kind of thing. And there's a lot of stuff that exists that I'm like, I don't know that I could believe in a God that is okay with that. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that was the case. And in fact, I have evidence of this from a former member of Keffals' team. She, being Keffals, wanted me to coordinate a backstabbing because she wasn't confident taking her down without the backup and numbers we could get for her by supporting it. It was a game. She outright called it a game.
Didn't she, like, this is from... She was trying to get Xanderhal with her to, like, take down Brianna Wu or something? Like, fucking hell, Brianna Wu does a perfectly good job making herself look silly. You know what I mean? I don't know how these people got the wool pulled over their eyes so much.
Multiple times. This was in reference.
Yeah, I mean, the like groupthink aspect of it is something that I always feel weird about. And ultimately, it's just old beliefs that have survived the test of time. You know, any of them aren't really. How many religions have died out? I mean, we came up with religions and stuff when we had a lot less of an idea of how the world works. And I think now that we do, it's a bit harder to believe in it. But stuff is just like, stuff has endured, you know, it's just how it is. It's a cultural thing, I guess.
To keffals wanting to take down another content creator. And this member of keffals' team warned me that I would be approached, that I would be basically involved. And that wasn't the first time that had happened either. In fact, even previous to that, keffals
Do you think maybe she seems like the type? No offense.
had attempted to sort of recruit me into takedowns of other people. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that I felt like that. And with all of this having come out, it really feels like that, doesn't it? It really does feel like all of it was just a lot of false pretenses. And that hurts on a personal level, you know? Everything else, I've tried to keep this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm for kind of separating church and state. And like the UK isn't a particularly religious place. Like America seems insane. I'm glad I'm not there because I would probably be more like militantly against religion possibly. And I used to when I was a kid, but I don't know. As I said, people are made up of a lot of different things. And religion isn't like all bad. Like you get, you know, we have a large Indian population around here. You get all like Sikhs and stuff that do a lot of like charitable stuff, like Christians as well. Like they do a lot of good stuff. That's just not all good stuff, I guess. It's complicated for me. Hi, Floof the Floofy. I don't know how much longer I'm going on, but I actually agree. I think he's probably going to win. Like the left is shitting on Joe Biden. The right is shitting on Joe Biden. I mean, whatever happens, whoever's not got the guy in office, the other people are going to blame them for everything and propagandize the fuck out of that now. Because, you know, so many people exist just to propagandize their favorite politician who doesn't know they exist and doesn't give a fuck about them. It's kind of wild. Like social media has kind of, it's, when you said about like faith in humanity, like social media makes that like more difficult than anything else. Like watching these idiots, this is just what I expect to happen because the trans community is fucked, so.
Very factual. But on a personal level, I found that disappointing and hurtful. And I think what I'm trying to say here is that I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how old they are. I mean, even like our next prime minister is most likely to be someone called Keir Starmer. Even he is like 60, I think. It feels like Gen X kind of never got a look in. Like all the presidents you look at, apart from Obama maybe, but I mean like you've got Bush and then him, and then you get like, they start to get really old. It's like the same people are still the ones getting the positions, but it's, you know, it can't last for much longer because these people are going to start dying.
Done with
I wonder if someone's going to die like in office out of like Trump or Biden, because it's both of them in their 80s, right? Are they both in their 80s? I think they are.
I'm done with keffals. I'm done with all of her.
Yeah, I followed the whole keffals thing because I was suspicious of it from the start. And so I've seen a lot of stuff about her. So someone like this coming up now, who used to be friends with her, like I can't respect that very well. Oh yeah, Obama. Yeah, I mean, he seemed alright. I try not to comment too much because I don't live there ultimately. And to be fair, I don't even follow, like, our politics has been so mad for so long that it's almost like, what do you even say at this point? How many prime ministers have we had? Like all the weird shit that we've been up to.
Shit. I'm done with her pivot into drama. I'm done with her weird game playing. I'm done with her implicit weird threats and dishonesty. And yeah. I think that's all there is to say on that.
You'll have how long? All there is to say. God.
Particular topic. Joseph says, Demon Mom, I have to go. This video is unusually morbid. Have a good night. I'm sorry. I wish that...
Unusually morbid. I'm so sorry that you got the wool pulled over your eyes by keffals of all people. It must be so hard for you. Like, Jesus fuck.
I could, I tried to tell everyone that this was going to be rough. I tried to tell everyone that, you know, give everyone an advance warning, but there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I could have talked about this on Twitter. I could have talked about this 100 different ways, but I wanted to do it right because this has not been fun for me. Okay, I did not make this stream lightly. God knows I did not make this stream lightly. In fact, it's been, aspects of this have been tearing me up for quite a while. Fernfaba asks, Demon Mama, so no comments on the Muda video after you mentioned him. I have a lot of disagreements with the Muda video. I don't know Muda as a person. There were a lot of disagreements I had with aspects of the video. I feel that, I do feel that he did I think he did a solid job covering the GoFundMe.
I don't know what the one I'm looking for is called. Yeah, we're just gonna...
me allegations. Unfortunately, I do feel that it was distracted from by the addition of other sections that were not as well supported. Particularly, I really don't think that the Catboy Ranch section of the video was well evidenced. I feel that a lot of that section relied on narrative. Some of the claims just didn't align with what was being shown on the screen. I don't think that was a particular...
Yeah, but of course she thinks that because she's pro this shit. She's pro the weird giving bathroom hormones to kids. So like, what do you want to do?
Really strong segments, and I think it distracted from it. Also, there was a lot of people rightly pointed out some issues with the thumbnail of the video, which I think is a fair...
Issues with the thumbnail. It was, oh my god, it wasn't transphobic. Don't even fucking try with that shit.
Fairly surface level, critique. I don't know. I do think that using that thumbnail was a questionable decision, especially given that artist's history. The artist who made that thumbnail has done a lot of pictures of keffals, and they're pretty bad. They also have a pretty prolific and publicly available history of posting, and let's just say that they're not too fond of trans people, the way that they've talked about them. I think that was a mistake. But I also recognize that criticizing a thumbnail alone that's a kind of a, it's not a very deep criticism.
Yeah, but you'll do it anyway, right?
And it can only go so far.
And you talk about evidence. It's not like you brought evidence of this guy that got chased off the internet, right?
A lot of people didn't watch the video because they saw the thumbnail, and that is also a weakness.
I do need to do that, you're
of
right.
that choice. It means that there are people who...
Shut up, Demon Mama, one sec. And you. That's enough. That's not as funny as I thought it would be. YouTube. Pick top right. Appearance. See, this is like... I've been doing this for like a week, literally. Appearance. Dark theme. Yes, okay.
would have heard this message, who didn't because of that.
Yes, I was wondering how to do that, and I just never got around to it because I've had so much other stuff to sort out. Like every stream, there's at least one thing that I wasn't doing before that I've brought in. So I don't know.
Thank you. Thumbnail criticism can only go so far. I don't think it was a good choice.
That's true. I agree with that. Most of my stuff on my phone is, but I don't use my computer. What's my opinion on keffals? I think keffals is not a particularly intelligent person who stirred up a lot of anger in the trans community pretty much in order to get a bunch of money and to have get herself sorted out. You know, she probably enjoyed the attention off of it. I was pretty convinced that this was dodgy and that this was going to come crashing down from the start. But then at the same time, you know, I watched people like Destiny who are biased against her, and like I can see why people ignored his expose about her like a year and a half ago. But at the same time, the information was there, it was right, and these people could have listened to it and chose not to. Like, probably in this example, probably because she was in, like, Vorsh's sphere, and, like, Vorsh and Destiny hate each other, so... Which is interesting, because, like, he's responsible for, like, most of these people's careers, but what can you do? But yeah, I've never been a fan. I thought what she was doing was bad activism. I still do. I think what people like this are doing is also bad activism. I've watched a lot of other trans activists, which is mostly what I focus on this channel. And I'm putting up stuff on YouTube as well. Under the same name, you can hopefully find it. I've got like 2 subscribers so far because this is a new thing. But yeah, I've never been a fan of keffals. And all the ratioing stuff, things like that, I just think that's cringe as fuck. I think that's someone who wants to like hate on people. I'm working on emotes as well. It's all a work in progress. I have old ones. Yeah, I've got that one. Yeah, I used this channel for a few months back in 2018, and I was just playing video games and stuff, and it didn't go anywhere because I'm not good at video games. But I don't know. I guess I felt like a calling or something. I can't really explain it any other way. But yeah, you can have me as the Angie of TF2 because I used to play TF2.
To use that thumbnail, but my criticisms of the video were more that the heart of the issue, the GoFundMe.
She's not going to say what I wanted to say.
Stuff got buried in other things that I don't think were as substantial. Even talking about other people in the video, there's a portion of the video that goes and talks about someone totally unrelated, and I don't know. I just felt like that took away from what was actually here. But
someone unrelated? What, that Chloe person? Jeez, who cares what this fucking idiot thinks of the video? To be fair.
I will say, you know, I'm not here to be a giant hater. I do think the section that was about.
I'm not here to be a hater. I'm just going to point out all the stuff that I don't like and then say, well, I'm not, you know, well, that's just a criticism that you could make. Like, oh, come on.
GoFundMe was
Criticize yourself. How about that? Actually criticize yourself.
strong. The GoFundMe section was.
Oh, I don't know
strongly
if it
constructed.
showed, but thank you
That's
so
my
much.
opinion for those who want to know.
I don't have Twitch.
That,
oh shit! I don't have Twitch open. I have Restream. So I don't know if it's showing up, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
hope that people can take my criticism in stride and won't be mad about what I had to say. I feel like I was pretty even-handed, but yeah. Did Mudahar have the same info that you had here? Some of it yes, some of it no. I do not believe that Mudahar had the same evidence. I don't believe that Mudahar had the evidence of the Jack Saint situation, and certainly not the evidence that was talking about me. And I don't know if Mudahar had the evidence that Staroxvia brought forward about. No, in fact, I don't think he did. I don't think that Muda had the evidence about the HRTO, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, and the dates there. But otherwise, I think that Muda did a good job outlining the issues and the leaks, and also you know, yeah, that aspect. So I do think that there has been.
I'm not gonna say what I wanted to say.
Some it's complicated. I think that there were aspects of the video that distracted from the main focus. I think a lot of people walked away from the video. I mean, but again, there's a lot of people who walk into the video with their own biases. In the end, I do worry that.
Yeah, it's all a work in progress. Like, I'd like to think maybe a month from now, I don't know, I'll have all of that shit sorted. 7TV. I'm gonna have to look into some of this stuff because I'm, like I said, I'm quite new to it. I didn't really know what I was doing last time either.
The downstream effects of all of this are that it's going to have a negative effect on, you know, it's
like I have a Discord and stuff as well. I just haven't started posting the link anywhere.
Serve as a talking point for the worst people on the internet to further justify themselves. But I can't really blame anybody except for Keffals for that. Keffals made the decisions that she made. If she had been honest in the first place, none of this would have happened.
Can you not blame yourself even slightly for allowing this to pull the wool over your eyes? Really? I mean, this dumbass got her community to help pay into shit, you know?
This video right now wouldn't have had to have happened. It could have just been solved. It could have just been honest, and those were her decisions in the end.
Alright, well, thankfully I never have to fucking watch that again. Yeah, she used to get in, like... used to get in, like, drama with people like Destiny, and that's mostly where I know her from, because she used to, like... She's the kind of person that will, like, start shouting and screaming and getting, like, rude in debates. I don't know if she does that anymore, but she really used to. So that was mostly... She was just kind of a lolcow for a while, but she stuck by Keffals for a long time. And there was... I kept saying, like, she's not saying what I wanted to say, which is that there needs to be some kind of self-reflection from these, like, trans advocates that got onto this cause, that thought this was a good thing, and have stuck with her in some cases until pretty much the end, and are now sticking the knife in. There has to be some self-reflection on why we're letting people get away with this, and how to be more secure, and like how to actually criticize each other, because there were so many criticisms of Keffals out there, and they chose not to listen because we're blinded. We only trust certain sources or whatever. So it's disappointing that Demon Mama can't even really acknowledge that as a simple fact of life, that it needs to fucking change. And if it doesn't, she says, I'm worried about something else like this happening. This is why we need to fucking think about this shit, because it's never going to get better while we continue. Anyone that is trans and has any kind of message that makes us feel good, we hold up on a pedestal and we refuse any criticism of. Someone like Destiny comes along, oh, well, he's transphobic. Well, you can't say that anymore. Like, I don't know why it took fucking Mutahar, of all people. Like, he deserves, like, credit for how much he signal boosted this whole thing, but he's not by far the first person to do any of this kind of thing. He made the most current video that has the most up-to-date information, but there was so much information out there from the start. And Keffals was flagrant, you know? She hasn't been intelligent about any of this, which is why the DIY HRT thing is such a big deal. Like, you know, now it's getting a lot of scrutiny from people that aren't pro-trans necessarily, you know? And, oh, fuck me, it just... So much shit needs to change, and that's why I watch these, like, activists and stuff like that. Because we need to, like, force down their throats the fact that they're doing fucked up shit, and that it's not helping, and that it's making people think worse of us. Destiny is transphobic. I don't think he's transphobic, but it's a very commonly held belief that Destiny is transphobic. Like, shit. He got banned off Twitch for like being against trans people being in sports. And there was a few other things that I think people always use. I don't think he is personally either. And I mean, I'm very desensitized to transphobia. I worked in Weatherspoons. Weatherspoon is a chain of pubs in the UK. It's kind of where a lot of the more working class kind of people tend to drink. When I first started transitioning, I worked in one for like a year and a half on the bar. I took all kinds of shit. People said all kinds of shit about me and to me. I think it's kind of helped me be a bit tougher. Trans people in sports is the thing right wingers always go to. Well, I mean, there's been scandals recently, so of course it's been big. But like, the thing is, for me, trans people probably shouldn't be in most sports with women because there are like advantages that are not easily like mitigated, and the rules around it have not been that great, you know. Like, people will say, oh, trans athletes have been around for decades. Yeah, like maybe one or two over the course of those decades, whereas now there's quite a lot more of them because trans is a bigger thing. Like, more and more people are coming out as trans. Like, there's more visibility and stuff like that. And whether we like it or not, visibility comes with both costs and benefits. And like, the sports thing, I feel, is one of those costs. And unfortunately, it's one of those costs where arguably we don't really have a leg to stand on. And so it irritates me when like trans activists will get into these conversations about it and try and act like they do have a case, when the most we can get, really, I've seen scientists on like panels, which I will end up like showing because people won't agree with me with anything unless I show it to them, unless I slap it in their face and say, hey, there's some fucking problems. Like, the scientists on these panels, they're all saying like there's not enough data, and there really isn't, because there's only so many trans athletes. Most trans people don't fucking play sports. I played a bit of sports when I was a kid, but I really don't now. So yeah, it's a bit fucked. I just want people to start seeing reality and start thinking and not becoming just another propagandist for what's kind of becoming a bit of a weird like ideology, you know? I wonder how long Vorsh has been streaming. He's got 230 views. Oh, starting soon. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know. Like, Vorsh is never going to fall off completely. It is what it is. How long have we been going for? 2:35. I don't have much longer. I don't really have anything else to watch. Okay. All right, well, I'm probably going to end here because I haven't got anything else to watch. I'm quite tired. I need to make food soon. Examples of MTF hopping into UFC. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's going to keep happening. Eventually, we're just going to look stupider and stupider, I think. Just face facts now. Just understand what's actually going on. Stop thinking with your propaganda brain and start thinking with your actual brain is what I want to say to a lot of these people. But I feel like the only way I can really do this is to just get as many examples, as much as I can. Because when I talk to people about this, it's like, oh, you know, I'll say about something that I see a lot of trans people saying, and it's like, oh, well, I haven't seen any of that. It's like, you have to physically show these people. And, oh, I'll stick around. I'll see if I can make like that or something. I mean, if you want to talk about anything, we can. Yeah, I mean, the transports, you want to help me a sec? That's fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the transports thing is a non-starter. We should have chilled the fuck out on that and said, yeah, maybe not, you know? But that's not what we did, and it's just one of several huge things that we've fucked ourselves on. Nightbot. I think I had Nightbot before. How does it work again?